Hey everyone, and welcome back. Here's the World Series of Board Gaming. I'm Camilla with the Dice Tower. I'm joined here by Nick. Welcome back, Nick.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here and chat some Cascadia today.
Absolutely. We heard Nick yesterday talking about Azul with Z's. We're happy to have him back here with Cascadia as well. We are excited. We have a great group here tonight playing for the finals, and we're excited to join them here at the table. Looks like they're still kind of getting the rundown here, but I think we are ready to take a look and dive in here. We have John, who's joining us from, let's see, John is coming from Atlanta. Nick, who's joining us from New York. RJ, who's out of Texas. And Terrence, who is actually coming from really far from Singapore.
Yeah, he has definitely the award for this draft here. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. He was a winner over there and was able to pick up a sponsorship and be here with us. So super excited for that and to have him.
And if you were watching last night, you might recognize RJ from the Azul table. He's making a second finals appearance here, which puts him into rarefied air in terms of folks that have pulled that off at WSBG events. It's just really pretty incredible.
It is. It was really interesting. Him and another contestant or a player, I guess we should say here, we're having a conversation beforehand. Not an argument. We'll say they were having a differences of opinions. We'll say on the benefit of having two rings and going in and having that benefit of getting to choose your table. And one was like, "No, I always want a 3-player game." He was like, "Absolutely not. I want to be able to pick the game." And they both felt so strongly about it.
You know, for me, it's bragging rights, right? If you win 2 rings, it's something special. So RJ is going to be fighting just as hard as everyone else at this table.
Yeah.
And actually, the other thing that's fun is John, I think, was here earlier, like he in a different year, also played Cascadia.
2 years ago. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was here 2 years ago. Took a year off last year, didn't come. But yeah, this is his second time back competing for Cascadia.
That's great. So we have, I think Terrence is sitting in seat 1, it looks like here. So he's mulling over the board. And we've got, let's see, it looks like Bear C, Elk D, Salmon D, Hawk A, and Fox C as their scoring things here. And Terrence is going to snap off a salmon here, it looks like, to lead the charge. The other thing I noticed with his pickup there is that he picked up both the grasslands, the yellow, and then the marsh, that kind of like greenish bluish, and set it in such a way that it touched both of his starting habitats. So any of those opportunities to get kind of 2 habitats at once just doubles the scoring that you get from your habitats, and it's going to make it so that he's competing in multiple different areas he's playing throughout the game. So I like that as a nice starting habitat play. And I think the salmon there also, it looks like he's going to plan to sort of cut a swath through the middle, because this salmon D here really wants to be surrounded by as many other animals as possible.
Yeah, I know you and I were chatting briefly beforehand, and you were saying the Salmon D card is one of the trickier ones to pull up because of that proximity to the other animals. Is that right?
Exactly, yeah. It has that requirement of being near them, and you can accidentally sort of like make these weird salmon tails that just score very, very little if you don't put them near something. Sort of the magic number is you want to be shooting for about 3 points per animal played. So, thinking about it that way, it's like every salmon needs to touch 2 new animals that the previous salmon hadn't touched before it.
It's like it's a little puzzly.
Yeah. RJ here looks like he snaps off a hawk to lead the game, and dumping a marsh habitat, one of those big ones that I think gives him a pine cone. Or they called nature tokens, I think, but I call them pine cones.
Yeah, I've never heard them called nature tokens.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta call them what they are, right?
No, all right, yeah. Call them by their name.
Yeah. And this is Hawk A, kind of the more straightforward one. It basically just says don't touch other hawks. There's a fair amount of flexibility in terms of how these hawks get dropped into play, but the scoring potential on this is not necessarily as high as some of the other animals that we see going around the table at this point in time. I mean, if you're getting 6, 7, or 8 hawks, sure, but other than that, I think it's more just like you can play this hawk and it's easy to play other stuff, in other places. It's not as restrictive as some of the other hawk placement rules are.
So it might not be like the main strategy you would go for, but you would couple it with other ones.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that a lot of this game, the animals are so close in scoring that you're looking to get these tiny little edges. And so keeping that flexibility and then kind of putting some more pressure on either the habitats or grabbing those extra pine cones is going going to be really beneficial for the players going through, because those pine cones, they give you an extra point at the end. And so, I see sometimes people just taking them and hoarding them for 6, 7, 8 points at the end. Not only that, but they're a tiebreaker. And the number of tied games that I heard through the tournament today was, about 10 of the games or something like that decided on a tiebreaker.
That has been a really interesting, I won't call it a trend necessarily, but something that I have seen this year substantially more than in years past, is it coming down to the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
Really, I feel like the competition has really ramped up this year, in the skill level.
I think we see John there grabbed an elk as his first one, and we were talking beforehand that the elks kind of caught our eye the most for 2 reasons. One is if you do the ring of elks for 21 points, that's one of the best ratios that the animals that are in play kind of affords, 3.5 points per elk. But not only that, because we are playing with Fox C, which is the one that wants to see all the same animals, there's sort of just a perfect little spot in the middle there to drop that fox along the way. And make a really nice 1-2 punch. The foxes there as single pieces have the highest scoring potential of any of the tiles in play here, but they just require a lot of work to support them.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see kind of the jump for those elk when they come out. I think that will determine some strategies right on, because like we were talking about, not everyone can go for that strategy, and they're all going to see that synergy. When you're playing at this level, no one didn't notice it. But at some point you also have to recognize and kind of count yourself out of that strategy, and to see how they decide to adapt.
Yeah. I think Nick here, we saw him have 3 foxes and decide to use the flush rule. He didn't want to commit to fox at the beginning, which makes sense. And he ended up taking a hawk, I think mostly as seeing just that as like sort of his most, again, flexible option at the beginning here. The other thing is that it was paired with a habitat that's got the forest and mountains, which connected nicely to his starting tile. Both of those touching those starting habitats.
So definitely a very flexible move for him.
Right.
The hawks being some flexibility early on, and then building up both of those 2 habitats.
Yeah, every time that you can play that habitat, that you're getting 2 points rather than 1 point. I mean, it doesn't sound like a big deal, but we're going to look at the end game scores here, and they're going to be somewhere in the range of plus minus probably 8 from top to bottom here amongst like this level of play, I would say. The other thing that is, I think, most exciting about this year is in the previous 2 years at WSBG, we've had the Hawk of Death, Hawk C, which you build this kind of like wheel system, scores a lot of points, and has kind of created a game where you really need to play the animal system. And this one, the animals are I think, closer in scores to each other. And so I think we're going to see more competition on the habitats as they're playing throughout the game. So right now the players are saying, hey, can I get 2 points by doing this habitat pairing? Or like in RJ's case, he said, could I get a pine cone, which is an extra point, while putting this habitat out there? I think when we hit turns like 15 and onward of this game, we're going to see a lot of players going around counting how many habitats each of them has to get those bonus points, making sure they're winning first and second place there, because those little edges are going to make a really big difference in a game where the animals are a little bit closer in scoring to each other.
Do we know how the animals are chosen for these games?
It is shuffled and random, it looks like.
It is random.
Yeah, which
Okay.
makes sense.
Yeah.
That's how they do it in the rules. Looks like we're sticking to the rules rather than choosing the most interesting, which again makes it, I think, really fun to fox and the elk. That circle knee
for
pairing,
sure.
I think, is entertaining.
Yeah, it's just nice to, like you were saying, to have that Hawk of Death not in this year. It's good to that came down to randomness. It's like in their favor.
Terrence here is probably a little bit bummed that he's not getting a salmon. I believe his yellow tile there wants a salmon at the top, that single space. But it looks like instead he's going to, it doesn't have that as an option, so he's going to grab a bear and do a bit of a habitat connecting here on his water. And I think that's a water and a mountain. So I think that actually is, again, the sort of like double connect there. He has water to water, mountain to mountain. And just kind of doing the split, I call it, this sort of like fork where you put the corner directly into touching both of them.
Again, just giving him that flexibility, just really lining up well there.
Yeah, and just maximizing those habitat points. The problem, well, not the problem, actually, the bears in this game, in a lot of games, the bears are clunky to get because you need them in certain groups. This one says, look, you can have one bear, you can have two bears, you can have three bears, but their point scoring potential is the worst in play right now. Like a single bear is 2 points. Two bears, 5 points, so 2.5 each. Three bears, 8 points, so not quite at 3 each. So they just aren't scoring kind of at the same level as all of the other animals. And this one does give a bonus for having all 3 groups, but it's a lot of work. That's 6 bears that you need to have somewhere on your board. And even then, they're only scoring a net total of 18 points. So just that 3 average for having done a lot of pre-work. So the bears are probably the least powerful thing going on right now. And I think the fact that he took that bear there is just an indication of how much he's paying attention to that habitat continuity.
Okay, so that's where his focus really is maybe keep an eye on those habitats and building out that, again, you talk about that flexibility and such. It's really funny you say that because these are like one of my favorite ones to do. I don't know why, it just makes me happy. And I'm like, oh, well, look at that. It's a losing strategy.
I mean, there's something about the objective of it that like looks nice, where it's like, I get this and about this.
It's so like organized. They're little, in the little cabins.
Yeah, in their clusters, of course. But yeah, they just aren't packing the same punch. It's just disappointing. RJ here continues on his bird path, which makes a lot of sense. The more of really any animal you're going to get in the game, the higher the average score is going to be for them. But all of them tend to follow that system. And I think, again, looking at the habitats, he sees that the water connects to water. And his yellow, the grasslands there, does not actually connect to his grasslands. It's kind of on the corner there. But he plays it in such a way that will allow him to easily connect it in the future. It just means that he's going to have to pay attention that that's going to be kind of a requirement for him to drop that grasslands and connect it in the future.
Speaking of RJ, I was talking to him beforehand, and we've been coming here and doing this for a couple years now, and he's the first player I've ever talked to. When I asked the question, like, why do you like this game? He's like, oh, it's just so on theme, and I'm like, what? You guys see theme? Like, it just made my little themer heart so happy. He's like, yeah, it's so relaxing. He's like, I can play Cascadia and puzzle through everything, and at the end, I'm smiling and relaxed because it was so like true to nature. And I was like, I just thought that was so cool that even at playing at this level, he's still like thinking about that,
That's awesome.
and seeing the theme in the tiles, and it's not just colors and puzzles.
That's very sweet. I do like that a lot. John, by the way, looks like he grabbed a mountain space, like one of the big mountain clusters that I think wants a bear in the long term, and took another bird out of play. So we've currently got 3 players in birds right now. And, like we said, the birds are not necessarily the most powerful scoring, but a little bit more flexible. But the fact that 3 players have picked up birds here is sort of benefiting Terrence most out of all of them, right? Because if people are fighting for the same kinds of animals, it's just going to slightly depress their scores. And because this is a game of little edges, that's a thing that he's really happy to see.
Looks like he's still thinking about that placement there, trying to decide.
Yeah, he's got a nice spot there. I think Nick got a double placement with a yellow connected to yellow and a blue connected to blue for that habitat. And he takes out a salmon. So he's now competing with Terrence, and Nick is in the nice position to be doing this because he's drafting right in front of Terrence.
Yes.
So while Terrence was happy to see the bird go away, seeing Nick move into salmon, not so ideal because there's a chance that Nick is just going to be taking these away from him every time before it gets to Terrence's turn.
Right.
I do think this is something that when players are really kind of paying a lot of attention, they'll look to the player on their right and say, what animals are you in? Because I want to not be there.
Yeah. And welcome back here in the chat to Ronald. This is going to be RJ's dad joining us in the chat. Yeah. Welcome back. We got to hear and talk to him some last night in the chat as he was cheering on RJ as well in Azul. So back tonight. Welcome back.
Terrence here is, I guess, deciding what he wants to do with all these foxes.
Right.
Because, if you know you don't want one of them, quickly you can kind of like flush. But it looks like he's maybe debating it. And I think, can we find out, is Terrence's top yellow tile Never mind. It's a fox tile. He put it there.
There we go. Now we know. Yes, we can. We can, you know.
We can
yes.
find out.
Yes. Just want you to know that was me. I got that information for you. Okay.
I couldn't tell if it was a salmon or a fox. So we've got a fox in the
Yeah.
top tile there, which makes sense. He gets himself. He's going to play that at some point in the game. He gets himself the pine cone in case he needs a little bit more flexibility, and he just continues his water southward. Looks like that water tile has some access to salmon on it, and it's not connected to his other salmon. But a fun fact about this game is that the animals are not evenly distributed across all the habitats. And to RJ's point about the game being thematic,
Theme, right? Yeah.
the animals that you think are most likely to live somewhere do live there more often.
Yeah.
So there's more salmon on water than there are on forests, for instance. And so the fact that Terrence has sort of left this spot where he has to put additional water in the middle to connect the potential salmon there is entirely reasonable.
So we see another elk coming out into there, and that's the one that you eyed early on as a potentially
And
very strong
John
strategy.
very
There it
quickly.
is. That is the
He
quickest turn of the game,
So
folks.
happy to see that. Yeah, it connects with his habitat right there. It lets him continue building that elk ring, and I think that flipped off right after RJ picked up a bear in front of him. So John was definitely very happy to see that.
That's got to be a little bit. When you pull that out, you're like,
Oh yeah.
good.
It's a winner on all metrics because it's the habitat that it was paired with touched the yellow to yellow. Even the other side, the forest, is like kind of long ways connected around the forest. He has to do some work there, but the thing that he wants to put in the middle of that ring, the fox, they tend to live in the forest, and so things are probably going to work out pretty nicely for him there.
It's a really good setup right there for him.
Yeah. Do we just get a refresh? I missed for a second, I think, seeing some nods. So looks like we did get a refresh for Nick. And immediately his options went down to 2 animal types.
Yes. Oh.
And, like we said, I think that the elk seem exciting this game, but it is tough to be an elk player sitting behind another elk player. John is going to be taking those elks pretty aggressively throughout the game. And so Nick saying, man, like I do want one of these elks. I have a forest here that will give me a pine cone, but if I start fighting for these elks in the long run, I might get into trouble because if I can't quite finish this, then the elks will it's almost backfire. If you put in too much work to it and can't quite close the whole circle or most of the circle, they're just going to end up being disappointing.
Right, because as you don't complete it, I mean, that point ratio is only going down.
Yeah.
Right, you're looking at that hopefully 3.5 points with the elk, but that's based on you getting the full circle completed.
Exactly.
Especially Nick sitting in that seat, knowing that he has selection before Terrence on the salmon, like you were talking about. So he's definitely balancing that, which salmon's not in the running, of course, here yet, but he does have to consider that.
Yeah, I think the other thing he was looking at is that the habitats here are a little bit awkward for him. He does actually grab that elk, and it's got a great place to play it. But it looks like he grabbed, I think, a mountain marsh tile and connected it to his mountain. And a lot of people, this is something that I actually think is very insightful. I think actually Nick clearly understands the dynamics of the placements in this game. Your natural affinity, or my natural affinity, I think most people's natural affinity when they play this game is, okay, well, I drew a tile that has mountains on it. I should connect the mountain to as many other mountain sides as I want to, because that looks pretty and it's like kind of what you're supposed to do. And in most tile playing games, you get rewarded for doing that. But this game doesn't give you extra points for having more points of connection on the mountains. And so Nick's got 2 mountains there that are connected, and he kind of did this like jagged connection point where only one side of his new mountain tile touches the 2 mountains that he has, and that increases the surface area, or I guess the perimeter is a better way of saying it, the perimeter of his mountains along the side there, extending that mountain chain outwards, because he's acknowledging he doesn't care that much about that marsh piece because he's got marsh on the other side of the board.
Right.
What he wants to do is make it so that future mountain pieces have the most possible play spaces. And so it looks ugly, but I've found that a lot of times playing Cascadia, building counterintuitive terrains increase your chances of being able to build something you like.
Interesting.
Terrence here picked up pretty quickly, and looks like he grabbed himself a forest mountain that goes very nicely. I think Terrence has had certainly the best kind kind of pairings of habitats so far in the game. It's worked out pretty nicely for him. But he's working on a full rainbow of animals, only missing an elk at this stage.
It's interesting. Yeah, which is not a bad position to be in either. I mean, you can look at some of the others, be like, that one's going for elk, that's going here. You know, you can kind of see where they're going with him. It's like, again, he's still playing that flexibility that we were talking about. You know, is building that into it. You know.
Yeah, and I think he's saying, look, if I can win multiple territories and do okay in animals, that can put me over the top. So I do think that that's a really good long-term plan. You know, setting it up at the beginning here, he's going to be able to later in the game have more options to say, okay, well, I'm dominating in mountains, and so I don't need to keep fighting for that, but I'm tied in forests, so let me prioritize forest tiles, see if I can get first place there.
It was really funny when we were talking to him. He only learned how to play Cascadia less than a year ago.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Just less than a year ago. He's like, I just picked it up. And so when I asked him, I was like, how many games do you think you played of this? And he's like, with people? I was like, well, yes. I thought that was assumed. And he's like, so he's only played like 50 games of it or so with people. Okay. Other than that, it's an app variant that he's played a little bit,
But not like the app.
No, not the app. It's a variant of the app that he's engineered in order to, make it a little more difficult for him and that kind of stuff.
That is very cool.
I was like, yeah. Immediate retort. We're like, with people? I was like, oh, yeah. That's what I mean.
I mean, that is something that's funky about Cascadia compared to a lot of games at WSPG, right? Is that many of them are on Board Game Arena, and this one is not.
Right. And so we're having to see some of that. I know it was RJ, I believe, as well, who was telling me that he actually, I'll have to see which one it was, but created his own solo variant for it to increase that difficulty. He was like, because the AI was not difficult enough, and, well, no one wants to play with him anymore. So he created his own.
That's fascinating. I wonder if he's like playing kind of like exceptional rules, or if that means that he's just coming up with like rule sets for how he's playing against himself, because I could see both of those working.
Yeah.
Looks like RJ, by the way, speaking of him, grabbed a bird tile that's connected up to his mountain in the northwest. And then I saw Terrence leaning over, looking at his habitats. I think probably seeing already, even at this stage in the game, where that habitat competition is being laid out. And then, are we on John's turn right now, I think?
Actually, she's playing
He John just went, okay.
Okay, and looks like he picked up a bear to put into his mountain up top there, and grabbed himself a pine cone. So now every player has a pine cone, granting a little bit of extra flexibility. And, if you're going to use that pine cone, it has to be important, because they're all worth a point. So the action that you're going to take with a pine cone, you're hoping to get 2 additional points from. I think this is a mistake I see a lot from people when they're kind of, in the early stages of learning this game, is that they see, oh, this is slightly better to use this, so I should use the pine cone. But if it's, getting an extra point on board and losing a point for getting rid of your pine cone, you haven't really netted yourself any advantage.
It's just a wash at that point.
And you might have limited your option to fix your problems in the future. So saving them till later in the game and kind of really prioritizing what you absolutely need to get is so important.
Especially as you're getting down and you're seeing that point spread narrow down. You start counting the territories, like you were saying, the terrain types and that kind of stuff. If you can really capitalize on it.
Yeah,
make
absolutely.
it a 2 to 3 point swing instead of a 1 to 1 wash.
Yeah. Talked about Nick maybe being scared of moving into elk behind John, but he has committed at this stage. He's put his second elk into play, and I believe that habitat that he has on our right, it's Nick's left, but we're gonna do it from our perspective. On his right there, I believe has access to an elk. So I think he is kind of generating an elk circle going around this bird here. It's not the dream, right? Because we ideally wanted the fox to be in the middle, but of course you take what you can and make use of the habitats that you have. So it's going to start looping around that way. I actually learned a fun rule about this ring that I did not know until literally yesterday.
Oh.
Which is that the ring does not need to be connected to score. If you just show that they're in the ring shape, even if they're disconnected, it counts.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was wild.
Okay. Things like that are like, how did that come up exactly? Like, what was the situation in which that question was asked? I'd love to see that board.
Yeah, I also wonder in the same kind of vein, like it's was the designer like, oh yeah, I've known that all along, or if
Yeah.
someone asked it on BGG and then the designer was like, oh my God, I guess I have to answer
Right,
this
yeah.
question.
He was like, sure. Yeah.
Do it.
Why
Yeah.
not?
Score
Yeah,
more points. I
okay.
don't care.
If you're asking me this, you deserve to win.
Yeah, right.
Sure.
Terrence there looks like he grabs the second bear, and he does indeed find himself a salmon habitat to connect. And you know what, we were talking before about Nick doing this, but Terrence has just done the shank as well, kind of putting that water in a more awkward way. Rather than connecting to many water spaces, he has sort of cut it out to a sharp left, you know, kind of in an ugly fashion, putting the marsh up against the water there. But it allows him to connect to his own marsh up north. It gives him more territory for expanding the water outwards, which in the future is going to give him more opportunities for these doubles that Terrence has shown is a really high priority for him. So he is definitely playing the habitat game very intelligently. RJ here's got kind of a fun line. I think he took a second bear, and his bears are not connected right now. That's actually one of the things that is nice about this bear card in particular. It doesn't have any requirements for shapes. So if he has a bear that he puts in the middle and makes that a 3-pack, great. If he has one of them as a 1 and then kind of makes one of them a 2, great. He can kind of do whatever he wants to with it. And so it's not bad for him to grab these bears and put them all askew, because he can lay his habitats down in the way that is really sort of just the most ideal. So, you know, we've talked about flexibility a lot, and that's something that the bear here does, even if it is kind of, you know, not the ideal scoring bear.
Right there, I mean, knowing that we're here at turn 5 too, so you're not quite ready to hone in on one strategy specifically. You know,
Yeah.
you still have 3/4 of the game left to go.
Yeah, I
So.
love that you name that though, because I actually always find myself being like, oh, we're nowhere in this game, but actually we're a quarter done. And the first 5 turns are basically as impactful as the last 5 turns in terms of what your points are going to look like. It is maybe true that in the last 5 turns you are paying a lot more attention to, hey, am I going to win this habitat race? But it doesn't change anything in terms of how valuable those turns are. Every turn in this game is just as important as the last.
Well, also because it's one of those games that does have that finite number of turns, right? You know you get this many opportunities to build yourself up or cut yourself off.
Yep.
You know.
Absolutely. John here grabbed a bird and also put a fox into what could be his potential elk ring. You know, he put it right below that spot there, hoping to set up for that nice long-term thing. It was a fox with a forest, so it connects his habitats right there. And
2 elk set up great just to go right around.
all the way around. And then I think, unfortunately for him, he flips an elk. And so Nick, after him, gets to get a third elk kind of handily.
Yes.
So that worked out pretty great for Nick. I'm not sure if the elk flipped from John's pickup, or it might be that John is just having issues getting habitats for his elk actually in play. That's a problem that he's facing here, that he's got good aspirations for what those elk will look like, but he doesn't actually have the infrastructure for it. This is one thing that I think is really awkward about Elk Ring, is that you tend to have to make some habitat sacrifices. We've already talked a little bit about the fact that the habitats in this game are probably going to be the deciding factor because of the relative, you know, balance between these animals here throughout the course of the game. You know, another thing, I want to actually jump back to RJ and that bear conversation we were having, that I'm realizing that's cool about his play there is another way to make these foxes score really well, rather than just surrounding them with elk, is to surround them with bears. And so because the bears in their groups, you don't want to have touch. You know, you can't do a full 6 circle or anything like that, but you can kind of do like a 3 bear on one side and then a 1 bear on the other.
Yep.
And he actually has given himself the ability to build that kind of structure here in the long term.
And then what is the animal in the middle on his, between the bears?
Oh, the one, I think it's a salmon.
It is a salmon.
And
Okay.
probably because
Okay.
Terrence is in front of him, he's had trouble getting some salmon. Although there's one in play right now, and he doesn't grab it. He's happy to grab the elk here. That looks like it's. I think that this was a nice grab where it's like one of these kind of obvious ones you look at and you're like, oh, the elk goes in this habitat. I get a pine cone for playing this elk. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
a pretty sweet get. He throws it up at the top left there, which I think is not ideal for that plan we were just talking about. Like, it's a little awkward for future pairs of his, but RJ also knows that, like, that is a dream tile for John. It's okay for
Right.
him, but, like, why pass it
Yeah.
if he, if he isn't going to get anything amazing? And I don't think RJ is, like, kind of begging for any animal right now. So it's a fine enough play for RJ, but I think more than anything, it's just like, I can't give this to John.
Right. Yeah. He definitely doesn't feel like he cut himself short, but he also didn't, pass the silver platter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
Seeing a couple good habitats for John right now because there's a marsh water there with a fox, and I think he's got a couple spots for those foxes that they could go. So I could see him grabbing that. Although now that I'm looking closer at his board, I think he's actually cut his marsh habitat off. Oh no, he hasn't. No. The marsh habitat is actually really nice because it's just hiding underneath that bird. So the blue-green there, little stealth mode for me. So I think that marsh water actually is sort of that coveted double habitat touch there.
Yeah.
I have to imagine that he's kind of eyeballing that, that bear with the water. It's got nowhere for the bear to go. He doesn't really have a salmon set up. And actually, that's another fun thing about this particular set of animals. The elk with their ring tend to be sort of off to the side of your board because it's just so hard to build the ring in the middle of your board.
Right.
As you're kind of working out from there. So a lot of times I see players as they're setting up the structure, kind of they lean off to kind of like a quadrant, and that's a non-bow, an anti-combo with a salmon, because the salmon want to go down across the middle of the board, touch as much stuff as possible, and so having these sort of like hanging animals with these ones that say, hey, put everything together, they look like they'd be really nice, but to get the perfect setup that like needs to be, it requires kind of a god draw that I think is not expected most of the time. John does not agree with my assessment about that habitat in the fox, though. He says he's actually interested in getting in on the salmon game. He sees that this salmon here connects, to a bunch of stuff that he set up. So I guess he said, look, I'm making a little salmon basket here, right? I expect that this salmon run is not going to be much longer than 3, which is the minimum you need to do to score this run, which I think is one of the most awkward things about this piece, because people will look at this and they think, oh, okay, I put a salmon, everything that surrounds it is fine. And then you read the little tiny text at the bottom that says, hey, at least have 3.
At least 3, right, yeah. Yeah. Nick here, that was a quick pull for him as well. He knew
Yeah.
the tile he wanted.
Yeah, I think that, again, we're seeing a double habitat. This is the tile that I was just talking about John taking. And actually, Nick said, you know what? If you're not going to, I'll grab the water. I'll grab the marsh. Those touch my things. I have a fox that goes somewhere. The fox that he's placed down isn't a dream, because I think it's going to need to score points for a salmon next to it. That's probably going to be a 2, maybe a 3-point
I
fox
did it
on the
because
long
in
term.
my second
But
round
it
I
fits.
didn't, and a tile tumbled out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then someone was like, we should send you to return it, so it's a habit now.
Okay. That's right.
Table talk there, I'm not quite sure what happened.
I think he
Like
was
punch
talking
it,
some
something to do.
physicality with the bag and
Okay,
a
something
tile
was
tumbling
silly.
out or something like that. Oh, someone's commenting that he closes the bag, he cinches it shut so that nothing comes tumbling out.
Oh, I see now, okay, yeah.
I'm created now a whole narrative in my head that Nick has this traumatic story of playing this game, and someone picked it up from the bottom, and just all the tiles came pouring out over his kitchen table.
And it haunts him because he never knows.
I mean, they were finding salmon under the. Oh god, it's horrible. Yeah, because they
keeps him
spilled
up.
all over the
He's
board.
like, he never knows what his actual stats
I
are.
will close this bag
So-
forever.
He had such a fun energy to him. Talking beforehand, he was very, speaking of Nick here, still so excited to be here. And talking to him about his game group when they play together, he considers himself the 3rd best player out of his 4-player game group.
That is amazing.
I was like, how confident are you in this? He's like, I am not the best in my game group. And I said, I don't think I'm good for your game group.
He said they played a lot, right?
Yes, yeah.
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 So 3rd best of
Right.
very good players seems probably pretty good, especially since he got to the finals here. So clearly they know it's up.
Right.
And I think the rest of his game group came and played, right?
They did. I believe 3 of them were here, if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken, if not all of them. But yeah, his fiance's here playing as well, and then I believe it's his sister and her boyfriend, or brother and girlfriend, one of the two.
Got it.
Yeah, the whole group here together, which is always fun. Bring a little piece of home with you.
Yeah, and it also goes to show that all these events, you might say, hey, I'm the 3rd best player in my group, but if all of you are playing at a certain level, you just need a couple days of running hot, right? You just
Yeah.
need a few games where things are going good. Things broke Nick's way today, and he found his way to the finals.
Yeah.
Missed a couple plays here. We had Terrence and RJ go. Looking at Terrence's, I think he picked up a second bird, it looks like. Kind of dropped that down. It looks like it was a bird that lives maybe in the solo mountain, one of those get a pine cone birds, if I'm seeing correctly. Although I see Terrence only with 1 pine cone right now, so either I'm misreading that tile, or maybe he paid a pine cone just to kind of pull those things out of play.
And should we see RJ up there with the most pine cones? He's at 4 of them right now, so that's going to be great.
Being told that Terrence might have extra pine cones under his name badge.
Where we can't see. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, nope.
Nope. Oh. The suspense.
Yeah. Yeah, my guess is that he spent a pine cone to take a
to do
quick
that,
cross
yeah.
and take some stuff off the board. It kind of connects his mountains there.
And then RJ's sitting there with those 4 right now, knowing he's got those 4 points. Or
Yeah.
that flexibility later, to maybe swing into one of these other strategies.
Yeah, exactly. I hope that's going to work out for him, because currently looking at the boards, I think I'm least excited about RJ's position. His animals are kind of a bit scattered. I think he does have long-term plans here, but his board, I think, doesn't have the habitat cohesion that a couple of the other ones do. Not a significant difference. I think he's maybe just like a point or 2 behind pace here. But, like I said, it's a game of edges, and he's just going to have to make up that difference over the long term. Although, on the other hand, he's got the extra points from the pine cone, so maybe I'm underestimating his position by paying too much attention to the board.
All that flexibility when those things come out, that he can capitalize on it where the others can't.
Absolutely, yeah. John here grabbed a fox, and looks like he continues his mountain range to his north, our relative south. And looks like that mountain range could become a bird or become a bear that he could maybe connect in through the mountains. So some options there. But I'm also noticing that an elk is in play right now that's attached to a forest. So I have to imagine, because I missed the exact detail, but I have to imagine that's what flipped out right afterwards. And if that's the case, John's got to be feeling pretty frustrated right now, seeing sort of the perfect tile for him flip out afterwards. Nick is likely to grab it, but as soon as I say that, Nick's going to say, "No, you're wrong."
He did not.
Instead, he's going to grab. He knows he needs salmon to continue his salmon run there. He wants to put it around that fox there, so even if the salmon run isn't like the best salmon run, it will at least score extra points for being connected to that fox. He'll have as many kind of around it as possible, and he sort of had a bird site set up for him there. That being said, I am still a little bit surprised that Nick did not grab the elk in the forest situation there,
Sorry, I say yeah, because it looks like he would have a pretty good position for it
Yeah,
right
I
there
think
with
so.
his ring. It fit in pretty nicely
It
with
would
that
fit in
mountain.
pretty nicely.
That was an interesting move.
Yeah.
So now here, as we go into turn 8 again, here we're at the World Series of Board Gaming. Tickets are on sale now for next year. So let's take a look at some information about those early bird tickets you can get.
What's up, board gamers? Now you can compete in the World Series of Board Gaming from the comfort of your own home. Introducing Board Game Arena official tournaments, where you can win your way to WSBG 2026. Head on over to BoardGameArena.com and sign up for one of our free tournaments for a taste of the action. Plus, join the official WSBG group so you can be notified anytime a new tournament drops. There's no better way to practice for the main event. And hey, you want to lock in your 2026 spot at the best possible deal? Well, head on over to WSBGVegas.com and use the code EARLYBIRD at checkout for an exclusive limited time offer. Don't just watch the action. Come be a part of it. Your journey starts now. Visit WSBGVegas.com for more details.
All right, jumping back in here.
Yeah. I think actually something I'm realizing about Terrence's last turn is I think maybe he already had the two birds and he grabbed an elk out of play because I'm noticing he has an elk in the middle of his board that I don't think we talked about in the past.
Don't believe so either.
So
Okay.
I think that's what he grabbed, and
Okay.
that's a really actually interesting pickup because that elk right there is already surrounded. He knows that that is not going to become a ring elk.
Yeah.
I think he is functionally just de-drafting that from the players so that
Okay.
the other players who are building their rings are going to have a hard time making any use of it. So that's my guess of what he did last turn. And it looks like he's thinking the same thing right now. He's going to put
Doing it
another elk into
again.
play. Oh,
Oh, okay,
apparently
that one.
he does have a ring
That
set
one.
there.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So it sounds like he knows that rule that they don't have to.
Yeah,
be
yeah, the
closed.
perfect
Yeah,
touch
okay.
on each other. Because that spot to the bottom left of the habitat there, I think is a salmon
Good catch.
bird, maybe? I'm not
believe it's a
seeing
salmon
any
and a
elk on
bird.
there.
Because it's off center, so it has to have. It looks like the blue right below it.
Sorry about that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Got confirmation on that.
Yeah, so that ring is not going to become a full ring. But of course, if you can make it as connected to the ring as possible, that seems fine. And he used that mountain there to connect his northern mountain range that we talked about that he have to
Yep.
come back to. And again, we noticed that he's doing that kind of shank play, increasing the amount of area that the mountains expand outward to the west, east.
Yes,
I was
the east.
like, east or west.
You're like, wait, no, that's left. No.
I'm on a highway and I'm going like this.
Yeah, that is interesting. And like you said, even knowing now that maybe he's not going to get the full ring, but any amount of that ring that he gets is also offsetting John and Nick, who have, put their hat in that basket. What's that saying?
Eggs.
Eggs in that basket?
Yeah.
Hand in the hat? I don't know. I'll come up with lots of other ones that are not.
RJ's in a funny position right now. He's got that habitat on the left that's the marsh and the grasslands is really nice for his board, I think. And it's got a couple different animals on it. But the birds have actually turned against him because his birds are now touching all the outskirts of his board. And so they don't really have anywhere to go anymore. And so while he might like that habitat on the left, he actually can't do much with that bird. And you see him using one of those tokens of his to take that bird off the board and put it onto, conveniently a mountain spot that wants a bird. So he spends a token and rebates the token immediately. But I think that's a reflection of the fact that his board is a little bit awkward right now. And he didn't see anything that worked out nicely on its own. So for him to pay the point to add a habitat, a bird, get the one pine cone back is a fine play. But I think it's a reflection of the fact that he didn't feel like he was in love with it. John here sees a couple of foxes and throws them away, and we see him happy nodding there, right? We see that cap going up
absolutely.
and down because that elk came out there and lives on that forest.
Right there.
He's gonna think about it for a second, but it's not gonna be much longer.
He's
before
thinking
gonna
about
snap
to
that
make
out.
the other one sweat, I'm sure. Yeah. It's like, yeah.
The players in this game are definitely playing they're very quiet, they're very focused, which is funny because in chatting to them before the game, like Nick in particular stood out as just like very
Yes.
affable, energetic. And we could see just very focused on the concentration here.
Right, especially as we're kind of, entering mid-game here, right? You start to see that focus start to come in, and, picking off the edges, like you say, okay, I'm letting that strategy go. Okay, I think I might have a chance here. There are 5 or 6 different directions, and that flexibility starting to really hone in on the couple of lines they want to fight for.
Absolutely. I want to call attention to John's habitat placement right now. You see he's having a really hard time with this tile, and it's because he actually has many good options. But I think that there is a best option that he laid out a moment ago, which is placing that tile with a forest straight north and south on the right-hand side of that fox. The reason I like that placement is because, as we've talked about, elks live in forests a lot. And so he's probably going to continue to get elks living in forests going around the circle there. And then also you could kind of connect the grasslands around the right side of his board, though. But John is thinking something else. He has instead connected the forest off to the west.
Which in turn will cut off the forest as the elks live up there on that north edge of the circle.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he can go
He can go-
right with the forest, and
Right.
maybe he's saying, hey, I can connect my forest to the mountain over here in the long term. I have to guess that's what he's doing, but I'm still surprised that like there's just sort of a low-hanging fruit of having the grasslands on the right-hand side of the board there. So I'd be really curious to see where he builds out from there.
Well, especially because we know he saw that move because you said he kind of put the
He
towel
laid it
and
out.
he
Yeah,
went,
he
you
threw it
know,
away.
he
So
decided.
he's thinking about something
was
that
like,
I'm
yeah.
not thinking about for sure. And he's an engineer, so I should probably trust him.
He is an electrical engineer, currently redoing his basement, which is terrifying.
Which he made sound very casual.
Oh yeah, I was like, what are your hobbies? He's like, yeah, I redo my basement, engineer. I was like, just on the side? He's like, well, we'll have something.
Poof. Nakira seems plenty happy to pick up a double habitat pickup with a blue to blue and a green to green, or water to water and forest to forest, and throws a bear directly onto that habitat. That's one of those, like, it comes in a little bow. It
Yeah.
tells you where it goes. Just put the animal right on it and don't worry about it. We're not at the stage yet in the game where the players are going to have to start worrying about making sure they complete their sets, but we're not that far away from the fact that Terrence does have a salmon in play. He needs to get 2 others. Having an animal in play that's worth 0 points is probably a death knell in a game like this. And so he needs to make sure that at some point he's getting there, and he doesn't want to get to a spot where it's cute because Nick is also looking at filling out salmon. John is also looking at filling out salmon. They both have 1 and are going to need to get to 3. If people are not pressing these salmon now, they're going to see some real tension in the late rounds of the game. And so if I'm in Terrence's position, that's something that I'm starting to get fearful of. Not to mention that marsh and grasslands connects nicely to his habitat board. So that's where I'm looking at for him. That's the first thing that caught my eye. But he also can grab those birds because they can live up in his top right area. He's got habitats for them up there. So he doesn't definitely have a fair amount of options here. But he agrees with me.
Okay,
Finally, I
well,
got it
he's
right.
doing
Let's
it.
go.
Okay, all right. It took you a while. Way to warm up. Yeah, and this is here going into turn 9. So again, approaching that mid game.
Yeah.
Right there. He's
Yeah, and
got
so
a
this
nice setup for it there. We see
right.
the
He
salmon
can
right
arc
below
down here,
still.
and he actually has an option here. He can arc it down, sort of which I think is probably the highest scoring potential. He could actually also build kind of the triangle pod because that new habitat that he placed goes there. If he wants to try to like surround that triangle pod, I think probably the arc down is better. That habitat on the left there looks like it has a couple options available to it, so keeping it open is good. And RJ wastes absolutely no time also getting in on the salmon game. Which actually, I mean, he's already in the salmon game. He's got, I think I just missed it when I was assessing the table before. It looks like he's already got a salmon on the river there. And actually, he looks like he took a fox, not a salmon. I'm just being color challenged right now.
Yeah, you grab the fox, but that tile has salmon on it, doesn't it?
The new one?
new one
Yeah,
just
but it's
placed, I
far
believe, which
away
is
from the
interesting,
salmon on
yeah.
the right. I think that's
So
more
he
of it's a forest. It's a marsh.
Habitat grab.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
habitat grab, and I think it's got a couple options on it. I think a bird is one of them, right? And he's got 4 birds, so he's getting into the territory of every bird beyond this is worth 3 points, 4 points, 4 points. So he's getting to the stage where the birds are starting to break parity with the other animals.
Okay.
So he's going to want to prioritize those as much as possible and putting those habitats out there, making those options. The fact that it hit 2 spots, gave him somewhere for the bird to go,
Yeah.
is great. And I think that is very clearly what he's thinking about, because where that fox is not, it's not going to have a good time. That fox is next to 2, maybe 3 bears, and it's not going to get any better than that. It might be next to 2 salmon, but it's going to be a 2 or 3 point buff fox probably. Is there a bear or a missing animal?
There's a bear. There's a
Just in
bear,
stealth
right?
mode?
Yeah. It's not quite directly under it. It's a little off kilter.
Yeah, okay.
There's a bear there.
I'm seeing someone in the chat asking what the ring refers to in this game. I'm talking about elk D, which is 6 elks or any number of elks in this circle of elks that kind of cluster up together, surround you and squash you, just like wildebeests with Mufasa.
Oh my gosh, that's so dark.
It's just the deepest
We're
cut I could
living
think
all
of.
of our like childhood trauma. Thank you. Not expected. Remember we talked about this being a nice nature game,
I'm sorry.
thematically tied. It's all cry
That's
later. It's fine.
thematic. That's
Yeah,
thematic.
it's a circle of life here.
I could see John. I mean, he wants this elk, but I don't think it has anywhere to live. I think even if he uses a nature token, none of those tiles in play have elk setups on them, and so unfortunately for him, they don't give him that much options.
Mountain playing there might have
Okay.
an elk.
Yeah, he just has some limitations in terms of it, and of
Right.
course, like he ideally wants his elk to be either on grasslands or forests or something like that.
And he also is wanting to preserve that mountain one there for that salmon run
Yeah.
that he has. And so if he
Yeah.
did take the elk, it would really be just to take it out of the market for Nick.
Yeah, and that's not a great way to win a four-player game. You know, like
Yeah.
if you can do something nice for yourself and throw a dagger to the player, great. But you have to beat every player at the table.
Well, like we saw with RJ later, he's like, this is a neutral one.
Yeah.
But,
Score a couple points and
Yeah.
and it slows you down a little bit. Why not?
right.
So Nick here, he's got the new tile option of the salmon. As I just said, I think that the salmon competition is going to heat up over the next several turns because everybody's in the salmon market right now and needs to hit that minimum of 3. So he has to ask himself if this new habitat tile is good. He is also interested in that elk, but again has this sort of issue of doesn't currently have habitats that are saying, hey, put me in this spot. He does indeed grab the salmon, and then he's doing the habitat shank with the water just to kind of expand kind of up into the left there because he's placing a mountain up against that grasslands that just never is going to be relevant.
Right.
I actually don't think I'm glad that he pulled that off the board. I was just about to say I don't think I like the placement of it because he already can have the water surging northward thanks to his earlier placement that I really liked, and now he I think should be looking for an opportunity to set himself up for a double placement. If he places the water such that going around that fox, it's like a water and a grassland in the future. Like he could set up a sort of a 2-point play with that if he gets the right habitat tile there. But he's got other plans. And this might be a reflection of what animals can live in that habitat. Because I think a bear can live there. So, he sees that he's got a bear. He wants the bears to connect. I mean, they can connect going west and east, but he might be saying to himself, if I get another bear tile, bears are more likely to live in mountains, forests, and water. They don't tend to live in the grassland all that much, except for, of course, the scariest bears. And therefore, he is probably headed off to the right, thinking that that's where he's going to get other bear locations.
Another bear coming out there.
Yep, we have a comical number of bears in play.
Yes.
Yeah, so it looks like we're hitting turn 10 here, the halfway point. And a pretty quick pickup from Terrence here, who just he soaks that elk off the board. It's not a great play for him. It's 2 points, just to put it there. But it also, kind of is on the opposite side of his salmon run. So the elk being 2 points, but makes the salmon worth a little bit more. So I guess card gets 3. And then he gets to drop a water down in the bottom there. It looks like it's got a bear slide. He knows he wants to make this salmon have as much stuff touching it as possible. Given that every player has moved into bears in some way, I think that the odds that we're going to see that many players with the 1, 2, 3 is quite low. Usually the advantage of bears is they suck, so no one likes
No
to
one
go
else
for
is
them.
going for it, so you can kind of capitalize on that. Right?
Yeah. But instead, I think we're going to see a situation where everyone's going to kind of just have some bears
Just
because
a
they were
little.
convenient to put into play.
That is interesting how if they all go into it a little bit, it makes it kind of irrelevant for all of them, And
Yeah.
It's interesting.
RJ wastes no time taking advantage of the bird space that he took last turn as he takes that tile off the board, throws the bird down, and then says, all right, well, now what am I going to do with
Now,
this habitat?
well, where did that go?
Looks like he's going to expand out his marsh a little bit. I don't see him looking at other players' boards right now, so I think he's not so concerned about what he's winning right now. He says, I don't care about the marsh as much. I am instead going to drop this mountain over here, connect my mountain ranges or expand my mountain ranges a little bit more. And now I can turn my 2 disparate bears into a third bear, which is nice because he has set up that fox there that I maligned last turn. And he's saying, I am supporting the fox,
Yeah.
I have some respect for it. John here with a pile of bears might throw those in the trash. He does not have a great spot for a bear to go. I'm expecting a reshuffle. Or not like a reshuffle, but
Swipe the bears. There he says right there. Swipe the bears.
swipe the bears. Fox is not what he was
Okay.
looking for. Elk
Okay, got an
maybe.
elk out there, some grassland.
And another elk.
Oh.
Now the question is whether he has a habitat supporting that elk. And I think in slot 2, an elk fox.
Yes, and that again has that. It's an elk fox, but also the forest and the sands.
Grassland.
The
yeah.
grasslands. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, I always want to call them the
Sand,
desert.
oh.
Yeah. I think that's why I've just taken a calling them yellow most of the
The
time.
yellow.
Okay,
There
so
it
it actually
is.
looks like the
Oh.
tile that he has there, that probably has an elk on it as well. Okay, yes, great. So that tile has an
Okay.
elk on it as well.
And didn't have to use the pine cone.
So he doesn't have to
normally,
use the
yeah.
pine cone. And now he's expanding his grassland outward. I had been talking before. Oh, now I get it. Now going all the way back to the comment I made before about John's placement of that forest to the left there. He decided this is his greed situation. Actually, this was a perfect flop for him. He saw that he had that yellow on the fox tile. He said, if I can connect it all the way around the forest, he, from several turns ago, said, I'm going to walk it all the way
Yes.
around, get this one extra point here, connect, move it over here. And so actually that flush was, again, sort of the perfect flip for him.
Yes.
So I think he's missed a couple times, but that's definitely two times that he's hit exactly what he wanted. And
But I
Nick's
think
not
that's-
sad about this either because another elk comes out for him.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting how we're seeing them kind of come out in a wave right now.
Yeah. Well, I think as we're hitting the end of turn 10 here while Nick debates this, I think
Yes.
I'm going to swap out for someone who might know this game a little bit better than I do.
All right. Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us here, Nick. We're going to have PJ join us here as well, who, like you said, he knows the game quite well, and is going to bring us his commentary here as we go into the second half of the game.
Yeah.
So into turn 11. So thank you again, Nick.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome, welcome.
Hello, super excited to be here.
Very glad to have you.
Yes, would have been lovely to be down there, but I'll take up here in the
There you
commentating
go.
booth.
There you go. It's great to have you back. I know we've had you at the Dice Tower
Yeah,
before.
and it
you
was
know.
lovely being there.
So, well, yes, we very much enjoyed it as well. So always nice to have you back again.
Yeah, it looks like things are definitely like heating up in this game. And one thing that Nick mentioned earlier is that you are learning new things about this game all the time.
Yes.
I just learned about that ring thing earlier today.
From Nick.
Yeah, like how the elk can be disconnected. There's so many little things that you can learn about this game all the time. I know my first year, the rule about like refreshing 3 animal tiles.
Yeah.
Didn't know that going into my first round.
And that's always so funny when you learn one of those that now looking back in retrospect,
It's so
older
obvious,
and more
yeah.
mature you. It's
Yeah,
like,
of course.
What,
Much
what
more
a
experience.
baby.
Yeah, what
You
a
know?
child he was. I will say it did work to my advantage because I was playing the game on hard mode because I couldn't do any of those free refreshes. So when I learned the rule, it was like Rock Lee taking off the training weights. But I don't expect any of these players to be making like any, mistakes like that.
No.
I think this game's going to be razor sharp.
Yeah, that's been like the MVP, I think, is flushing in this
Yes.
game for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
And this is a very interesting setup, like Nick commented. There are not a lot of well-scoring animals in this game at all. this is kind of the bottom of the barrel for the most part for the animals. So it'll be a very worthy challenge for all of these competitors to try to make the most out of it.
Yeah.
Because when you look at the quality of like the different animal cards, these are some of the worst for each of the animals. You got Fox C, which, you know, we could put up on the screen, but that one is the nearby related ones, which is notoriously difficult to make work. Foxes in general are probably the most consistent animal you want to be using in the game, except Fox C is the hardest one to use by far, because typically it's really hard to kind of lump all of your animals together in like one spot around an animal. You can maybe put one or two good scoring foxes down in a game like this. Past that, getting even more than 2 points on a single fox, really challenging.
Interesting. So when you would sit down to a game and you would see this layout here,
Yes.
what would immediately come into your mind?
This
Other
is-
than like, oh, man.
Yeah, other than, man, this is going to be a low scoring game. Yeah, I would honestly gravitate towards the Chinook salmon, the surrounded one. This is the one that Nick was talking about earlier, how you get points for the salmon that are, you know, having animals like touching them. And one thing you can actually do with those is you can put them in like a triangle formation, which is like very interesting. Because as long as it's touching just two other salmon, like, that is perfectly like fine to do. And it's also like one of the most like efficient ways to potentially do that.
Are you looking to play Montana this week?
So looking at the board here,
So look at the board here. Yeah, we're going to look at some of the current terrain majorities. With plains, we have Nick and John tied at 3. For the forest at 5, we have John and RJ. RJ takes the marshes at 4. Nick takes the water at 6, and Terrence has the mountain at 6. So RJ, Nick, and John all have or are tied for majorities in 2 of those.
yeah, I'm really liking RJ's position in this game. He is very competitive on the terrains, and because the animals are so low scoring in this game, the terrains are going to be like very impactful for sure. And he also is leaning really heavily into the Hawk setup here, which I quite like. Hawk A has a lot of flexibility to it, but not a lot of reward potential necessarily in terms of the points. But if you go all in on Hawk A, you're going to be scoring like a pretty amount of points. And it gives you the flexibility to really make those terrain tiles work for you, because your only requirement is your Hawk just can't be next to another Hawk. So I think he's in a very solid position in this game. John, his elk ring with the fox in the middle is looking lovely. And I think if he gets that fully online by the end of the game, then I think he's going to be in a very strong spot to win as well.
We see it looks like he is the closest currently to having, well, no, I guess Nick is close as well with 2 of them, but he doesn't have that fox in the middle. It's not
Yes.
quite hitting that combo that,
Yeah.
that Nick was talking about.
And those terrain majorities we mentioned earlier are a little misleading in that John only has 3 planes technically, but you can see he is setting up a wombo combo there in terms of like his planes. He's connecting another one, and once he gets like one more there, it's looking like that's going to be like 8 planes in a row,
Yeah.
which is going to put him far and away in the lead. And
Right.
he's just looking for one more elk at this point. Like,
Yeah, that's great. That was a great pull for him there as well, you know, matching up perfectly the elk
Yeah.
and the plains, once again, extending both of those. And that always feels good, you know, you go right there from that tied at 3 to boom, I have 8.
Yep.
Can't touch me.
yep, the classic 3 to 8.
Yep.
We can do that. Speaking of math, this is the point in the game where we play a game that I like to call count to 20, which is you look at how many tokens you have on the board and you want to think about like, what's your wish list looking like for this game? Obviously, John, in his situation, he wants to have just one more elk. But beyond that, what is his plan? He probably wants more fish, I'd imagine. Maybe, you know, a couple more bears to round out the group. But that's what's going through these players' heads is, what are the animals I absolutely need to have by the end of this game? And what are my flex picks? Things like foxes and salmon that can potentially go in different areas.
So really interesting here. We just
Yeah.
see him just wipe all the animals. And because there's 2 and 2 out there.
Yeah.
And so he paid to wipe them all.
We see a fox with its natural keystone habitat, which I like to call that a gift whenever that comes out, but I don't know if necessarily there's an amazing spot for it. Yeah. Whose turn is it currently right now?
I believe we're at Nick's.
We're at Nick's turn. Yeah, and that's part of the reason why Foxy is a little tricky, is that some of the other foxes, you can just kind of stick it onto the edge of your board and score like 3 points from it fairly easily. But in this situation, like if you try to use Foxy with it, you maybe get 2. So yeah, even though it's a perfect combo, he opts to ignore that and instead focuses on building out his mountains, it appears. He wants to get more deer going, and I'm sure Nick is probably like wishing that that was a fox in the middle instead of a hawk.
Yeah.
But he's making the best with what he has. His salmon, he's looking to potentially make a line through it, like the middle of his board. He's surrounding a fox with it. We'll have to see if all of these foxes go. I expect there's going to be a lot of foxes left in the bag, and yep, all the
Oh,
foxes
wow.
died.
Absolutely.
Meteor
Yep.
comes in, foxes are extinct. Sorry, won't be seeing them again. Spoilers, we probably will be seeing them again
Yeah.
very soon, I imagine. Yeah, fish comes out.
Just warms my heart that he's looking over his shoulder. He's like,
Yeah.
I'm not looking.
Fish and bears, I'm sure that he is very happy to see those. And we'll just have to see which of those he ends up wanting to take. Another thing, worth considering at this point is essentially the players before you and the players after you.
Yes.
Nick is going for elks, and the nice thing for him is that John is also almost done with his elks as well. So he's not going to be facing nearly as much competition, unless John wants to set up another ring this late in the game, which I cannot imagine he is planning on doing.
Yeah, this late in the game, I mean, they definitely, as Nick's talking, have that flexibility. It's time to start cutting out some of those things. Be like, no, I'm not going to go down that. It's too late to start getting into that. I mean, we're on turn 12 already.
Yeah.
Which it sounds like the mid game, but it's not. It's where you're
It's
really
not,
more like
yes.
hyper focusing on those last couple things where you can, squeeze out that 1 point here, 2 points here.
Yeah.
You're looking at the conversion rate. This will get me 1, this will get me 2. Is it worth that gamble that it could be more? If not, you're really putting the
Yeah,
trying to
you
decide
really,
where to put those eggs.
you really want to think about, speaking eggs, those pine cones, man. Like, the name of the game is the cones, and you got to figure out how to use them. This is the stage in the game where if you have those extra pine cones to spend, you're looking for any way you can turn 1 pine cone into 2 points. Because while pine cones are worth a point and the tiebreaker, what's better than 1 point?
Two.
2.
2.
Yeah, 2
Or a
points is
win.
pretty good. Yeah.
Yes. That puts it over there. Okay, we see another elk coming out there. What's
Yeah.
the tile? All right, more.
All right, water forest with an
Okay.
elk.
not a-
RJ's not committed to elk really at all in this game. He's
I believe we're through to John's turn now. Are we not? Or are we on RJ still? We're on RJ still. So I think
Yeah.
John is probably hoping that elk stays out there. It's not the ideal land for him in that last position, but
Yeah, I honestly wouldn't even be surprised if he passed on the elk. Like, there's enough time left in this game where I think it's very likely he's going to get a plains elk for that terrain up there, which is what he's going to be really angling for.
we have what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 12, 13. 13 of the elk out in play right now, it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, if,
Likely he'll get it, but again, that's where you're starting counting everything,
Yes.
and you're playing
Yeah.
those odds and playing those stats and how many are left and what are the chances it'll come out on a turn that I can get it, when he knows Nick is wanting that one as well. He definitely knows Terrence is looking into it.
yeah, and RJ grabbing an elk, putting the squeeze on the other players. I imagine that John, he's probably feeling all right about his position in the elk game. Same with Nick. They only need 1 more, so it's unlikely RJ's going to be able to really contest that. But he's probably just taking the best options that he's seeing.
Right.
I imagine RJ really wants to see some good hawks
Yes.
coming out. But he also has to build out his board in a way where he can actually afford to play them. Like, if you look at his board, there's not many places he can put down a hawk tile that's not next to a hawk already.
Well, that placement he just did there with the forest gave him a hawk one, if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken, right, with the elk. It was an elk-hawk
Yeah.
combo, so.
It could be an elk, it could be a hawk. That is the flexibility you really want to see, at this stage of the game.
Yeah.
Another thing you can consider is really at what point you start essentially tanking your terrain tiles. At what point do you take a tile, have no intention of actually putting an animal on it, purely for the terrain? Because you have 3 open spots to put an animal every turn. But if you take a dead tile just for the terrain, it goes down to 2. But this is the time in the game to really start thinking about doing that, because you don't necessarily need that flexibility anymore. What you need is as many points as possible.
Right. And we just saw that move there with John where,
Yeah.
where we were talking about connecting all those planes
From
together with
3
the
to 8,
3 to 8,
great math.
boom. Yes, he's
Yes.
breathing that sigh there.
So he's definitely got that locked down. And in a 4-player game, winning 2 terrains is ideal. I think it's going to be pretty challenging to do that. So if you can win big on 1 terrain and contest second in a couple of them, just to get those few extra points, that's going to be in a great position.
And he's definitely putting the pressure there on the forest, as we
Yeah.
see on that, northernmost elk there, having that forest as well. So he has some potential there to be in that
Yeah,
forest
and
game.
we got the Fox Keystone coming out with the salmon. And I can't imagine that Terrence is going to be terribly happy about that. It looks like he sacrificed his Keystone tile over there on the left, that plains for the salmon. That salmon's unfortunately not going to be doing anything. He's just going to run the line right down the middle. I'm a little, surprised that no one's going for the triangle salmon strategy, where you just have 3 salmon in, one little triangle. They're all going for the river salmon, just running through their board. And like Nick mentioned earlier, there is the risk of that, being difficult to taper off at the ends. But Terrence's salmon is looking, very good. He does have that dead tile out there. He's probably looking for more bears, because he currently only has 2 and then the 1.
Right, he's missed, which he has potential opportunity up there at the top to make a third group out of that, and then needs to get the 2 somewhere.
Yeah. All right, and he's taking the mountain wetlands tile, putting the hawk
Okay,
there.
get the
Makes sense.
Again, not wanting to leave that hawk for RJ.
Yeah. And I think RJ's biggest concern in this game is going to be, how many hawks can I get out by the end of the game?
Currently sitting at 5.
Yeah,
Hope
just
to
3
get
more. Yeah. He has time,
there.
for sure. There's a hawk.
He sees the hawk there.
Now, is that a good tile for him? It's a mountain wetlands. Unfortunately, those 2 terrains are pretty disconnected from each other. Ops.
Okay, ops
Okay,
for,
ops for the fish.
okay.
It is a forest. Oh, that fox. Yeah, that's an
Okay.
amazing spot for it, because
Yes.
now if he continues that elk ring, that fox is going to be scoring quite nicely.
And he knows he wants it. He already has that up top. Again, with the flexibility, could go hawk, could go
Yeah.
elk, depending on. He definitely has a lot of flexibility down there too, with the 5 pine cones he's sitting on, which is the most of anyone on the board.
Yeah. He has got the big bucks in those pine cones, and I really hope to see that RJ is going to be really leveraging those to try to get as many hawks as possible, because those last couple of hawks worth 4 points each.
Yeah.
1 pine cone for 4 points, please. I'll take that
That's-
deal any day.
Yeah, it's that exponential scoring like that, right? Where it's
Yes.
not just, you take it from that, average of 3.5 points per animal up
Yes.
into that 4 you're looking at. I mean, that's a no-brainer.
Look, the animals in this game, they respect commitment. They want you all in on them. They don't want you messing around. That's why foxes are so great, because they're only a little bit of commitment a lot of the time. You
Yeah.
could just slap them wherever, get a bunch of points. But yeah, your main animal for RJ, that's going to be his hawks. You got to be all in on them. Someone
He's-
points out triangle salmon is life. Triangle salmon is love. Completely agree. Triangle salmon, very underrated.
Speaking of the counting the animals are out here, I mean, again, as we're in turn 13,
Yeah.
so it's just they know exactly how many turns left and how many animals they got, laying out
Yes.
ideal situation
Yep.
of my next 7 turns. These are the animals I would get. So they're counting. We got 15 elk out there, so that's definitely a tight game in the
Yeah.
elks. 9 bears, 13 hawks. So everyone's kind of have a little bit in the hawk game as well.
Yeah.
Obviously RJ being the strongest there. 9 salmon and only 4 fox. So as
Yeah,
we
the
get
foxes are not
down,
getting a lot of love this game. Yeah.
we're definitely gonna see those, I think, creeping up here, getting some runs
Yes,
of 3 and
yeah.
having to be wiped out, and yeah.
We're going to be seeing a lot of foxes at the end of the game. I wouldn't be surprised if they were hit by, meteor after meteor, overpopulation,
Yeah.
overpopulation, because they're just not going to see that much love, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, the elks really got the squeeze on them. Bears, there's still a lot of bears out there. Nick did mention earlier that bears, he generally doesn't like them. I like bears a lot, typically,
Okay.
but this is the worst bear card, I will say.
Oh.
He was right on the money when he
You guys are
said,
hating on my favorite card. Makes me so sad.
no, I love the bears. I'm a bear man over an elk man any day of the week, unless it's this guy.
Unless that one?
Unless it's Bear D. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Because you got to put in all that work in order to get just a measly 3 points per bear. Come on. if I'm putting all my weight behind you, you gotta give me a little more
Little
than that.
something. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
See John here.
Yep, John.
See back out. Forest tile there that came out.
Yep. And more
Oh,
hawks coming
hawk,
out.
and
Yeah.
that's a hawk with a hawk tile.
Probably not what Nick would want to see right now. Having a hard time making out his board, but it doesn't look like he has a great placement spot for a hawk at the moment. He's looking for bears, and unfortunately, these are not the bear necessities on the board right now. It's everything else but the bears.
Yeah, he knows that. You can see he's really.
He's got the 2 pine
Thinking.
cones. Yeah, which, you know, having only 2 pine cones is a really tough spot because spending your 1 or 2 last pine cones, like, they are there to get you out of a jam. The worst case scenario is you end up having nowhere to put an animal and no pine cone to, like, make a better choice, right? If that happens in this game, I genuinely think you're probably just out of it.
At that point,
Like,
when you
at
have
this
that
level of play,
wasted-
yeah.
absolutely.
So he has to be really careful about, like, how he uses these pine cones in this situation.
And we see him feeling that he's. Okay,
Yeah.
so there he
Yep,
is.
there
He
goes
did
the
it.
first
It
pine
was- It was
cone.
worth it. Yep. And that is
Building
gonna
out his
complete
force.
his, not quite complete his ring. He now has all the elk spaces to
Yep,
complete the
just
ring.
needs the elk. And,
But-
yeah, one more elk.
See, and he has the space lined up, and he
Yeah.
definitely doesn't want the hawk on that space because
Yeah.
they have the adjacency. Looking back at the terrains, we're seeing here's the ties starting to break, right, and people
Yes.
starting to kind of run away with it.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at the marsh, we have Terrence taking that one, Nick is taking water, Forest is taken by RJ, and John is taking the plains. So
Yeah.
one for everyone at this point,
Yeah.
you know.
The last one we're waiting on is just mountains, which it looks like a few players are pretty competitive on mountains at the moment. I see John appears to have 4 going on, but with the potential for 6 because he has that disconnect. Nick, it looks like, has 4, I believe. It's a little hard to see. Has 4 or 5. I think that elk might be actually covering a mountain. But yeah, this is the point where, like, seat order really matters at the end of the game because if you are in 4th position, you have all the control over the terrains, essentially. You are choosing who you decide to tie with, who you decide to steal the lead from, and you have to know, like, who is currently ahead of you because if you choose the wrong person, you might just be knocking yourself down to, like,
Right, or
third
you're
and fourth
king
place.
making at
Yeah,
that
you're
point,
king
you
making,
know?
exactly.
Like after, at this level of play, you know, they know that. It's that
Yes.
constant, I mean, it's just, the fingers are going crazy in their head, right? As they're just like counting.
Yes, they're like running all the calculations
Yes.
of, oh, I could go +1 against this player, or I could go +1 against that guy over there,
Right.
or both
Yeah.
-1, you know. There's a lot of things to consider in this position. It looks like Terrence is currently leading with 6 mountains. So he's
Okay.
got a slight majority on 2 of the terrains. I would be a little surprised if a player gets a clean majority on 2. I do expect quite a lot of ties in this situation.
Especially as, I mean, we're wrapping up turn 14 here, right? Getting ready to go into turn 15, that last quarter of the game.
Yeah.
That's where we're really going to start seeing the, like, all right, I can tie here, I can take this, and weighing those options too. Is it better to really capitalize on the animal scoring or
Yeah.
push that majority?
And Terrence using a pine cone here. You know, you have those pine cones, you spend them. A little scary to be on one pine cone, but sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. He doesn't seem to want the hawk at this point because he doesn't really have much use for it. Really debating on the placement of that. Angling to increase both his wetland and his ocean majority with a dual tile in the future.
He took a fox with that one, correct? I saw, did he just place that fox?
I believe so.
think so.
Yes, and it's kind of hard to see. Is that a bear fish tile that he just took?
Down, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
bear fish.
So I think it's definitely not gonna be a fish. There's no way
Right,
that one's
the-
gonna
the
be a
fish will be a
fish.
throwaway.
I think it's gonna be a bear most likely. He's angling for a water bear most likely and getting his group of 3. So at this point, Terrence is probably committing to 3 more bears, I would imagine, 1 more hawk. And RJ, I have to imagine he's gonna want to pick up one of these birds.
Absolutely, he's got that perfect spot for it.
Yeah,
Unless he's going elk there.
yeah, and he takes it.
He
I
is taking
imagine
it, yeah.
it looks like that's going to be a
We have-
fish with a hawk on
With
it.
a hawk.
Yes. Unfortunately, there's not really a great place to put it for the hawk potential, so I imagine he might be using it to just connect his terrain.
Or using it for a. Well, no, he already has the 3 fish.
Yeah,
out
he has the
there,
3
so
fish,
it's
so I
okay
think-
there. So he didn't really, yeah.
I think he's gonna potentially extend his salmon run, but more than likely that's gonna be a dead tile. Like he's not planning on, I imagine, putting any animal there because that salmon he puts there is gonna be worth a single point. So he's not gonna want to do that, but he is angling to really extend out his planes, go for second perhaps on like the planes majority, still worth a point. But yeah, he really wants to get the hawks, and also it's worth noting he's probably setting up for a future hawk placement as well. Like he can put a hawk next to that tile he just put out, and that would be not connected to any of the other hawks.
Right. Gives him an opportunity to build out some. For sure.
John, I was talking about he should have an easy time completing his ring, but it's actually been like 3 or 4 turns now, and the right tile hasn't really come up for him.
Hasn't it? We might see him just capitalizing on whatever he can, you know.
Yeah. All right, opts to take the bear.
Okay.
He's probably looking to, yeah, he's building out his forest, getting another bear down.
Okay, so 2 single bears for him at this point.
Yeah, which, you know, not exciting stuff. It's 2 points per bear at that stage, but
He's just hoping right now he does not give Nick an elk.
yep, no elk there. That happens a lot with me in my games. I got the magic hands. I pull my opponents exactly what they're
You're
hoping.
like, oh, there you go.
Yep, there I go. Nick eyeing up his options. He probably wants a bear. Yeah, he definitely wants a bear. The salmon he has the option of in his like top right corner. I would say is not amazing, but he's opting to
did
take the
take
salmon
it.
to really surround
That
that fox.
Yes.
Yes.
Definitely getting in that foxy, so that's an
Yeah.
easy placement. Is extending that
Yep.
planes there for him and
Yeah.
work on that fox.
Not the most like exciting pickup for Nick because, well, that is effectively a 3-point tile. Like you get 1 point from the salmon, 1 point because it's connected to the fox, and 1 point for the nature token. But it does critically give him another pine cone, and being a 1 pine cone scary place 2, little more security. You know, you got a rainy day pine cone.
Right. Everyone needs their rainy day pine
Yeah,
cone.
exactly.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do when your other pine cones? I got two.
Gotta have
You know,
a
they have to
backup.
have friends.
Absolutely.
It's unethical to have just one pine cone sitting alone at home.
Nobody
waiting
needs
for
a
you to come
lonely
back.
pine cone.
Yes.
They're social creatures.
They are very social creatures. That's why you always see them in like clumps together out in the forest.
That's right.
Yeah, they're just hanging out. Yeah, Terrence eyeing this board. Yep, he's also
Spending that pine
leveraging a
cone.
pine cone, spending it, making a nice dual placement of water and mountains, really trying to contest that water majority that Nick has over there.
That's good placement for him too, because that water majority, we see them going into bears at this point as
Yep.
well. Again, counting how many are out there, and at that one point, they're like, all right, there's only 9. They know they're going to see a lot of bears, and they know they're going to see a lot of fox
Yes.
coming out this late in the game. And so
Yep.
it's like trying to get early capitalization on that and having those spots set up for them. And that's what we're seeing here.
Yeah.
Going into turn 15 here, RJ looking out there. I think we're going to see him hoping to get another tile where he can place a hawk at some point, building
Yeah.
up his eastern wall over there, perhaps. I don't know that I see a great play for that.
I could see him taking a plains hawk and throwing it all the way on the right, but the tricky thing about that is it's asking for a lot of commitment to the plains because they're already disconnected. But unfortunately, that might be his only realistic option unless he gets like a forest hawk, which there is a forest hawk, I believe, on the board. It looks like it's a marsh and forest there, which he does take.
does
and
take
he takes
that
the
one.
fish with it. He was
Yeah,
looking for the
and that's
fish.
Beautiful
I
scene.
imagine this is going to go next to the. Oh, yeah, it's got to go next to the forest fox over there, right? No, he's putting it at the bottom. Okay. Am I missing that tile? Is that a forest wetlands? It is.
Forest.
Okay. So he's putting it there just to make sure that he is really surrounding his salmon.
Right.
Yeah. I do wonder. I think he must be doing that in order to contest like the marsh majority and make sure he keeps that. The downside is that you are more likely to see hawks show up on wetland tiles because that is one of their native habitats. You know, hawks, they always hang out in the swamp, you know. it's
As
their
they
thing.
do,
Yeah,
yeah.
everyone knows that, right? They don't hang out in the forest as much, so it's going to be harder to find a forest hawk to go next to the hawk keystone over on the left side of this board. But it's looking like John, pretty quick pickup here. Just trying to find the optimal
That-
arrangement.
He has been waiting for that tile right
Yep.
there, what you called.
Finally
Waiting to get
finds.
that plains out there. Now just has to have that hawk token come up at the right time when he can get it.
Yeah, and did that prairie elk just come out just now? Because if so, that's a little bit of a disappointment there for John. He would have loved to see that come out because that would have been ideal for him. Sometimes you wait for the perfect tile and then you give up on it, and then it shows up right after
Yeah.
you've given up all hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty quick pickup for Nick. He is opting to take the keystone for the elk, opting to potentially move it
Maybe?
elsewhere.
Looks like he might be going for the contesting there of the plains, but
Gets
also
the bear, gets his pine cone back, gets a refund. I don't imagine he is planning on putting an elk there in the future. It could be, a potential 3-pointer, but I can't imagine there's that many elk left out there.
is that just an elk on it, right? And
Yeah,
I'm seeing
just
that
an
right,
elk.
just an elk. Yeah. So it's also giving up on that completion around the
Yeah.
fox that we're seeing.
Yeah, he's probably taking it, I'd imagine, just because, didn't want to spend the pine cone, helps him extend his prairies, gives him an option to connect prairie and water. Terrence looking at a bunch of bears, and it looks like he doesn't really have a spot to currently place his bears. He needs like a good bear placement spot. There is that spot over on the left, which he could go ahead and put a bear in there.
Get a third one down for that grouping. Is that the one you're talking about there for Terrence?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Terrence, I imagine, is trying to angle to get 2 more bears by the end of this game in order to make the most out of that somewhat lackluster bear card,
That
I
1,
would
2,
say.
3. Yeah.
Yes.
And this
Someone
is-
in chat saying, give Nick the elk. Just let him have it,
He's
man.
like, come on, man. He's worked for it at this point. This is
All right,
return
Terrence picking
16 that we're seeing here, round 16 that we're going into.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if these players are running like, point totals in their head, who's winning, who's losing. It's a very tight game. Looking to figure out where he's going to put this. He's probably going to put it, I imagine, to make like a trio of bears up there. Not the best for him in terms of like terrain. I'd imagine he'd probably want to extend his mountains, but it looks like he's opting to maybe do the plains instead.
Which is interesting because he's not really in the plains game.
He may be contesting second in the plains. Yeah, he's really deep in thought. Okay, no,
Okay,
he
there he
does.
goes,
Yeah,
yeah,
it is going down
okay.
into the mountains. That's what I would expect. Yeah, and third bear down there.
Yeah.
That's great because you can see right above that tile, he's going to be angling for a fish, and we are totally capping out that salmon basket as Nick described earlier. So he's going to want 1 more salmon. I believe this is turn 16, so after this, he should have only 3 more plays.
Right. And again, they know what those 3 ideals are and what
Yep.
their backup are.
And the backup to the backup.
So here, getting another number count on the animals out there. Elk are at 16. So John's definitely sweating just a little bit at this point.
Yep.
About those last couple that are in there. The bears are at 13, salmon 13, hawk is at 14. Again, we know RJ's probably hoping to get at least 1 more. Ideally,
Yeah.
I think he needs 2 more at this point, right? Is what he really
Yeah,
wants.
he would love to have 2 hawks. He has the placement for 1. It is attached to that salmon tile that's not really doing much. Opts not to take it, probably because he's noticing that there's not too much pressure on the hawks from his opponents. So opting to really contest both the mountains and the force majorities, which I think that's a good call. Gets another bear. Maybe he's also going for, you know, the full set of bears. Only 2 left, but now bears are really getting contested a lot.
So here we did see that elk come out, which we know John wants.
Yep.
I don't see those tiles out there.
I think that's a great pickup for him. He definitely wants the
There,
elk.
right
The
there.
keystone is great. Yep, goes right there. Yeah, that was a gift to John. John is probably breathing a sigh of relief. He can stop worrying about the elks.
That's the first, that's the quickest turn we've seen in about an hour, I think.
Yes,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
Which, thankfully, not on track for a 3-hour game of Cascadia. Somewhat guilty myself of that. John was in that game, actually.
Oh, was he?
Yes, he was.
He was in the infamous.
He was in the infamous 3-hour games, but in all fairness to John, he was probably the quickest at that table.
Yeah.
John was not responsible for that. The only thing I'd be concerned about with John, though, is that he is right behind RJ, and RJ is going to be really gunning for the Hawks. And right now, 2 of his 3 placement spots are dedicated to Hawks.
Hawks, yeah.
And his last placement spot is really not appealing because it's going to be a 2-point Fox. So at this point, John is basically banking on a Hawk showing up, and it looks like he only has the 1 pine cone. So
He does know that RJ only has spot for 1. RJ is pretty locked in
yeah,
with his Hawk, so that might afford him a little bit of flexibility. But again, with only 14 out,
yeah, but
definitely hoping
RJ
to
is
see
daddy
some.
big pine cone over there.
Yes.
Like, he's going to be refreshing for those Hawks, which could work out in John's favor. I believe we're on Nick right now, trying to make the most of a maybe less than stellar situation. He was really hoping to get that elk that John so cruelly took from him, you know. Like that chatter said earlier, man, just give him the elk, please.
That's definitely going to come down to one of those last turns where he's just hoping to capitalize on it now that John is secure in his elk, that it comes up just one more. Just one
Yeah.
more. There's 3 more in the bag. Come on, I just need one of them.
Just one. Yeah,
all.
just one elk is all I mean.
Is that
Neat
too much
man.
to ask?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, Nick is in an interesting position here. He's looking pretty good on terrains, I will say. His animals, I feel, are unfortunately not ideal. He does have the elk rink going, but he doesn't have a great fox to pair with it. His salmon are unfortunately touching the edge of the board, and they're not getting much contact. That fox in the middle is getting a lot of love, but yeah, I would be worried if I was in Nick's position. He opts to put down the 3rd bear. And it looks like the water force tile he put down is just a dead tile. He's using that purely to extend his water, give him some more leeway towards putting down a water and a prairie, but
Which he looks like he does have the majority of the water.
he does have 3 pine
Terrence.
cones. Yeah.
Terrence right behind him. It looks like.
We're on turn 17 here, I believe.
Yes, turn 17.
3, 8, 12, 16. Might be blind, but I keep counting 16. Oh, no, it's turn 17.
It's turn
Yes.
17, yes.
Yeah, no, that checks out.
You'll get there. It's okay.
Yeah,
It's
I'll
been
get
a
there.
long day of game
It
playing,
has
right?
been, and in every game of Cascadia I play, I counted 20 maybe like 50 times. I'm like, okay, hold on, how many have I put down? Yeah. But Terrence here, his elk are disconnected. He definitely wants a salmon at some point, and it looks like he's going to take that opportunity to get it.
Yeah.
Yep, completing that run of 3 salmon. Now he just needs to figure out, like, where does he go from here? It looks like he's putting, interestingly enough, he's putting it at the top of his. No, there's no way he's putting it up there. He did this before. He's just holding it like up there, and he's thinking about where he wants to go. Putting on the right side there to extend both forests and mountains seems pretty appealing, which it looks like he is opting to do. I imagine that's going to be another dead tile. I don't think he has real intentions of using that for an animal, but
Just really to get those,
yeah,
milking those points for the majorities and the. So you'll see here they're playing on a game theory table.
Yeah.
Who sponsors the World Series of Board Gaming here. So they get to play on these tables. They do regular tables for gaming and also some D&D tables. We'll take a look at those and then come right back to finish up turn 17.
For over 50 years, the stories lived in our minds. Now, they have a home, the Table of Adventure, The first official Dungeons & Dragons table co-created with the D&D team over 2 years. More than a table, it's a storytelling engine. With legendary art, hidden lore, magnetic tools, and in-table power, every detail is designed to pull you deeper into the world. No breaks, no distractions, just uninterrupted immersion. On October 1st, the story changes. Join us on Game Founder. Claim your place at the table of adventure.
All right, coming back here to RJ's choice on turn 17.
Looks like he's opting to extend his forests, spending a pine cone, probably grabbing a hawk, I would imagine. I'm sure John is happy to see that there's 2 hawks out. He's guaranteed to get one. It's going to get him a nature token. But he's probably deciding which of these that he wants to take in order to potentially, honestly, just mess with his opponents.
Right.
It
He
looks
wants
like,
to not make sure that he's giving them, hopefully a fox, that comes out to it, but not leaving a great.
yeah, there's 2
option.
keystone tiles out there. He opts to take from that. He's hoping an elk doesn't come out, probably. Though, John really doesn't have much use for the elk. I imagine he's going to be taking that prairie salmon tile with the hawk, because he's really looking for them hawks. None of the other tiles seem to really be doing much for him at this point.
John, he does have a place for a hawk, doesn't he?
Yeah,
over
he
there
has
in
2
the
spots there. He has the keystone one and also the mountain wetlands one. So I would imagine he's probably going to take it, unless one of these other tiles works out quite well for him. I could see him taking that bear, the one that's blending into the center of the table, because it looks like that does a good job of expending both his water and it. Oh, he takes a different
no.
option,
Okay, extending his mountains.
and he opts to take is that a fish?
That's a fox.
Oh, that's a fox.
Very
Okay.
interesting for this late game, turn 17.
Yeah, well, that fox is going to be
But
scoring 3
it
points
is.
off of the hawks around it. So that is a solid option. And maybe he's banking on RJ just capping out on hawks. Probably doesn't love the, tile that's currently paired with the hawk.
And it's not worth that conversion
Yeah.
of a point for
True.
the pine cone.
Yeah, and John already has 1 dead tile, so I imagine he probably doesn't want another. Nick with a pretty quick.
That was very
pickup
quick.
lead.
He-
Yeah,
he
I
knew
didn't
what
even
he
notice what he
wanted.
did.
Oof.
He was probably just praying for that
He
tile
was.
to get back to him.
That's when you're like purposely not looking at the table.
Yeah,
like,
you're
you
just
don't know what I want.
you're just looking
Don't
off
look
into
at me.
space like, oh, I wonder what I want,
So yeah, I think he got his bear in that one. So we see him here with a group of 3 bears.
Yep.
And then he grabbed a single bear up there as well.
Yeah, and I imagine up there at the top, he's planning on putting down another fox, potentially, like next to those bears over there. He probably wants another 2 bears in order to get
Run to
that
the bathroom,
set
get a
of
paper towel. My
6.
fingers bleeding a little bit. Yes. Okay.
Oh, little table chatter here.
fast.
John, or I'm sorry, not John. Nick is going to take a quick break here. I don't know if the nerves got the best of him or what, but
I
picked a
mean-
little something, got a little hangnail or something. So
Yeah, I am like when you're in this situation, like you are very stressed. When I was in the finals, my heart rate that day I think was a consistent 130, which is probably not the healthiest thing, but
your watch is just buzzing. It's like
yeah,
calm
it does. It's
down.
like you've been working out for 8 hours straight. You should take a break. And it's like I'm just playing games, man, and I'm having a great time.
Like, oh.
Yeah, Terrence opting to take a pretty quick tile as well. Looks like he's conserving his pine cones, puts the bear. Is that a bear? Yeah, so
The bear
that's
in
going
his
to complete a
hand.
set. Yeah,
And he'll be the first one to complete that bear set.
yeah.
So, all right, Nick's back.
Not many bears left in the bag, though. Like 17 currently out, only 3 left, and quite a few players are looking for them bears.
Yes. It's really interesting. This second half has really been all about the bears.
Yeah.
When they
We
started
counted
coming
them out,
Yep.
count them down, but they're coming back. They're making the comeback. Meanwhile, the foxes are still just being mostly ignored.
Yeah.
Poor little guys. But even in a situation like this, you do need to account for how you can use those foxes because they are going to be showing up a lot. They are going to be very consistently occurring. So if you can make the most of them, that can save you a pine cone. That could get you the game.
If you do have that perfect little place, you can put them in, to have them almost
Yeah.
surrounded, with one placement.
RJ with an amazing
Oh,
pickup here.
just like that.
Yeah. That very nicely extends his wetlands. It makes that connection for the prairie. He had 2 tiles that did that, so he's probably very excited to see that pickup.
Oh, and
More
John's
hawks coming
excited
out.
to see those hawks out there, some options for him.
We're entering the final 3 plays. I imagine 2 of those plays for John are going to be hawks. The question is what that last play is going to be. A lot of options he could do. He could look for a water fox around his 3 fish. That would also, add another point to the surrounded salmon. So that definitely would be an appealing option. That prairie salmon hawk pairing is still out there. It seems like everyone's avoiding it like the plague.
All the way around the table at this point, I believe.
Yeah, I imagine John would be taking the leftmost tile, but we will see because that would extend both his water and his wetlands.
But at this point in the game, I'm sure you know what you think is the best option, but you still have to take that extra time just to triple count, triple guess yourself, look at everybody else, so even it's like he's taken the one that you called right there, but he still had to make sure.
Yeah. And that's the thing about a game like this. At this high level, it is constant discipline, taking your time, making sure you're not making any careless mistakes. I played a game this morning where I saw 3 foxes. I just refreshed because I was like, I wouldn't want any of them, and realized immediately after, oh, I actually did want that friend.
Right.
Oh, a hawk keystone coming out. Will we be seeing a hawk paired with it? We'll be seeing another gift. It'll probably be another fox if we're real. Oh, a gift.
Whoa.
But does Nick want the gift? That's the question. Nick probably looking for... Oh,
yeah,
he takes it. Yeah. I mean,
right.
that's a pretty good option.
Right. And he knows, you can see that he knows he was handed it, that's fantastic.
Great thing to see this late in the game. Will we see another gift being handed out? Nope.
No.
But yeah, there's no way Terrence, I think, can make that fish work at this point. He only has 2 plays left.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine he's looking for an elk potentially in the top left. He is good on his bears. He probably wants hawks and elk, I think, at this stage. And also really figuring out, what are those critical terrain majorities he needs to contest.
Yeah, it's where the counting and the recounting and the comes into play for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Turn 19, so 2 plays left for most of them.
Yeah, difficult to call who's going to be the ultimate winner here. I'm really liking John's animals. His terrain looks a little messier than some of the others, but he has a very solid prairie lead. I don't think anyone's contesting him on that. Terrence here has very good terrain. His animals are a little, could be better, I suppose. His elks in particular, he has 2 somewhat disconnected pairs of them.
And they're just pairs as well.
Yeah. His salmon look very nice, though. He has the best salmon on the board by far currently.
And he's right in there with the hawks as well. He's not out of that game. We definitely have RJ taking point on the hawks there, but
yeah, Terrence taking his time because this is a very difficult turn for him. There's no deer out, which he has a spot for. He can't currently put down a hawk, I believe, looking at his board. So this is just, a rough spot, and he's down to his last pine cone.
yeah, that's
If he loses his pine cone, he's all alone.
yeah. And he also knows he's out those points at the end of the game, right? And he knows he's got these two draws left, so it's not just what do I want now, but
What can I set up for the future?
what
Yeah.
I have future of one.
Yeah, future of one.
Of wonder.
All
All
right.
right, making his decision here.
Okay, spends his last pine cone, but gets the fish. Is that
That's
a fish or a fox?
That's
It's
a
a fox.
fox.
Okay.
Okay.
Decides he has to do it. Yeah. Not the most
Okay.
exciting fox. It's basically worth just the 1 point, I believe. He gets the pine cone back, so there's that, but I can't imagine he was too happy about that.
No, that would have been a 1-to-1. Okay.
All right, we're seeing a refresh.
RJ.
RJ getting rid of the hawks.
Getting rid of the hawks. Okay.
What is RJ looking for? I'd imagine an elk, potentially. There's only 3 elk left, though, so it's going to be tough to get those.
Back here. Those mean it's like 3
There was 3 hawks, yeah. We could find him.
He accidentally put those back in the bag, so he's
Yep,
pulling
so we
them
have to get
back
those out.
Tight. Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's easy to make those kind of mistakes right
No
here, and you
stress.
feel
Yeah.
so ridiculous. You're like, I know that rule. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, you know, I'm sure it's just the nerves and the tension
Yeah.
getting to the players here.
Someone get the judge, kick RJ out of here. Clear attempted now. Get him out of here now. But yeah, he probably really wants the elks, I would imagine. He also needs bears. He is 2 bears away from getting that, so that could be another angle he's looking for, but he doesn't have any bear spots. So I can't imagine he's going for that.
Not here, with just 2 more turns left as well.
Yeah, so
So far, the only one who's been able to pull off the bears is Terrence there that we're seeing.
yeah, he probably wants a forest elk, but he's not seeing it. There's not a lot of great options here. He could take a water salmon potentially and continue the run up. But that only gets him 2 extra points for the salmon, so that's not great. But let's see, he's going to double up on his terrain, it looks like.
Get back in the fox here, because he used a token.
Yeah, I imagine that's a dead tile for sure. Like, I don't imagine he's planning on putting... He could put a deer there, but he definitely wouldn't want to do that. There's no way a salmon goes there. So what will he do in this position?
And here we know he's
He'll be
taking
taking
that.
a fox.
We knew he was taking
yeah.
a fox to use the token, but it was, again, what you were saying earlier.
Yeah.
Which one? You know, what am I leaving for John? What am I leaving for Nick?
I imagine the fox is going to go just right next to that salmon run, most likely. Like, it gives 2
Right
points
there.
for the salmon, and... Oh,
Oh, no.
no. I mean, it's actually the same over there as well, because it's still connected to the run. Yeah, they're
Okay.
both effectively, like, the same. I don't think there's really a situation where it makes too much of a difference.
And there's an elk.
Yeah, Nick has no bear spots, someone points out in the chat. He has to really hope that one of those comes up. I believe we're on John's turn, right? Yeah. He's looking for a hawk, most likely. But
I'm
one
gonna play
other
it because
thing.
it's the best move. So I thought,
Didn't quite catch
Yeah.
what he said there. I've got to play. It's the best move. He said.
Yeah, John just taking the elk at this point because he really doesn't
do
have
that.
too much. He could have burned the pine cones going for the hawk now, but you know, really 2-point elk, kind of the best he can do at this point, which that's the thing about like this animal setup is that it's just really hard to actually get the most out of these guys.
Right.
There's gonna be a lot of
2
2-point
places
animals out there.
watching
It is 3 because it also helps close out that salmon run, which is probably what he was looking for, but
Want to get back to what John was just saying there. I mean, it's neat to see even at this high level of competition, the respect that they have for each other. I mean,
Yeah.
John, you know, what I picked up he said there was, sorry, I got to do it. It's the best play. And
Yeah.
he denied Nick that elk token. He's
Yeah.
like, come on, if it's all things equal for me, I'm going to do the one that hurts you right behind me.
yeah, no, that
And, you
makes
know-
sense. What is Nick wanting here? He's got 3 pine cones, denying the elk from Nick. Yeah. It looks like he was, yeah, apologizing that he took the elk from Nick. Could potentially be king making, but I think it was just a solid play from John. I don't know if Nick is necessarily the front runner here. It is difficult to say. Nick does look like he has a very good terrain set up for his oceans or his water. A gift has appeared in the form of a elk
Oh,
plains nature or
keystone.
keystone.
Yeah, key token.
Last
The
turn.
last one here.
All right, it
last
all comes down to
placement.
this.
And you
Will
know, Nick
Terrence
is
accept
like,
the gift?
what is the chance that elk will still be out there on my turn? Sorry, Nick. That does put us at 18. I don't know if these numbers still right. It's 18 elk out there, so
Yeah.
might be a
Mhm.
big jump for him there
Yeah.
with the
Interesting.
5-point elk. If it
Yeah,
is
5-point elk.
5
He
points.
so
Sorry, I did not
desperately
take my
needs
nature
that.
token from this. Okay. Last
Oh.
for people looking at
Nick
that.
was the
forgetting
bear,
to
right?
take
It
his
was the
nature
bear, yeah.
token.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Well,
I see
if
he did
they
not
will
take
allow
it.
it. Great
They are allowing
sportsmanship
it.
at
That
this
is
final
great.
table.
That is-
Yeah.
Typically, the turn is, or the
I was thrown
rule
off by
is, you
trying
know,
to
Yeah.
pick out of the
once
bag by
the turn
non-dominant.
goes on,
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
take it, it's passed.
Yeah.
You know, but they, like you said, a very gracious table.
Yeah.
It's good to see.
Because I think in this position, if you win because of something like that, it really doesn't feel great, right? You want to win like a good, honest game
Yes.
with everyone involved.
Because you know they're good players.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like you don't want to win on not a bad technicality, on a mistake.
Yeah.
You know, that's
Yeah, and that's one of the things I really like about WSBG is that everyone here is so incredibly kind, so incredibly sportsmanlike. And Terrence making the final play here, just, you know, putting down that elk, continuing the ring, extending his planes.
yeah.
RJ probably looking for, oh, there's a hawk.
Okay.
Is that what he wants? But
Does
there's
he doesn't have a place for
he doesn't have a
it,
place to put it, it looks
so
like.
he'd have to take. I don't think any of those tiles out there have it.
He
so.
is probably looking for, I imagine a elk would be the best case scenario. There's only one left in the bag though. He does have the 4 pine cones to spend. That elk would be getting him 3 points. None of the other options here really do that much for him, I will say.
And you know, John is just itching. He wants that hawk. He's just
He does, yeah.
he's beside himself right now.
Can't imagine RJ's going to take the hawk. Takes the fox. 2-point fox.
Okay, which is the same move we saw last round, right? He was going
Yeah.
back and forth between the 2 spots, and this time he's taken.
Yeah, and if he's spending a pine cone, it must be because he is contesting a terrain majority on something. Because taking the plains is quite good for him. That's a 2-point plains because it connects that disconnected one over to the side. Am I missing something? Why would you put it there? This is the final turn, right?
So it looks like he's
Oh.
trying to get that bottom connection in there.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
That
Yes,
just
that was not
connected,
connected
yeah.
before. Yeah, I did
Yeah.
not make that out. Exactly. Okay.
Oh, see Nick head and hands there.
Yeah, he's
Prior turns are flashing before his eyes.
yeah. He's kind of hoping that maybe those 3 salmon stay out, so that's a free wipe on his turn. But I mean, that is probably what John isn't interested in, I'd imagine. I have to imagine he's going to be taking the hawk.
I as well.
and-
That's taking that hawk and then
We would like
allowing.
fish, please.
Okay, he's gonna
He
wipe
is
the
wiping.
fish.
Okay. He's doing the wipe for Nick, it looks like. Maybe because
just
he would
wants-
prefer to get a different habitat. So he's hoping to get a hawk on maybe something that's being more contested by him.
Okay, so not great for Nick. Not what he was hoping for there.
Yeah, Nick's dreams. Well, he has 4 pine cones. There is one elk just still hiding out there. I think Nick will be able to find it.
It's very positive thinking for one more draw from the bag.
I mean, he's got
I
4
think it's
pine
gonna be-
cones. He's going to be churning through that bag, I
That's
imagine.
true. Yeah.
That final elk he's getting is worth 5 points to him. He's
Right.
got 4 pine cones.
Right.
Even if he spends them all, that's still a +1.
Yeah.
Right?
All right.
Yeah.
And this late in the game when he knows that's the best on the board for him.
Yeah, because he
Makes
really
it
doesn't
worth it.
have many other great options. He could get a fox, which would be worth 2 points. An elk would be worth basically 3 points to him. So, yeah, I imagine maybe spending a pine cone or maybe 2. But it is tough. John's still really deep in thought. I imagine he's counting up everyone's terrains.
Making sure before he jumps on that hawk that
Yeah.
he's not making a terrain mistake, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a little hard to see. I'm not able to really calculate everyone's terrain majorities at this point, but I have to imagine John is trying to figure out what position he's in, and he's in a sense playing Kingmaker. Who does he attack in terrains in order to try to get an edge in that final scoring? Because he has a lot of options. He has basically all of the options except for Prairie, and it looks like he's still well in the lead on Prairie. So I have to imagine Let's see his prairie. He's at
9.
9.
That's what I'm counting there
Yes.
for him. And I think the other one would be, next closest would be Nick, right?
Yeah.
1, 2,
So he's got prairie on
6.
lockdown.
Yeah.
I have to imagine he's gunning for a second place or maybe even tying for a first on some of these other ones. And Nick is really the only other person who can go at this point. So he could play the denial game, opts to take the option that was presented at the start. Doesn't really make a difference, I think, which hawk spot he puts it on. Because either way, I think it scores the same amount of points.
And he knows it's last draw, nothing
Yep.
else is coming for it, right?
Yep,
yeah.
John, breathing a sigh of relief.
Right.
He is done in this game. Will he pull that final elk?
Nick is grinding his teeth, I'm sure.
This could be huge for Nick. This could be the most important elk in the history of elk. It's a
Oh,
fox,
it's a
but that's still good. Nick gets the white.
Make this go away.
Oh, nice.
Those foxes last about 2 seconds.
They know. They all know it too.
But they're about to
Wait,
see
it's all-
back up
the
from
probability
3
of
more of their
dying.
friends because that bag is just stacked with foxes. There's a fish. Go fish.
Oh, a hawk.
There's
Hawk.
one more, yeah.
Hawk.
One more. Ah, and another,
Oh, another.
another fox. Looking for his friends. Where did they go? They were sent away. I'm sorry. Is it worth
But
the
like
one
you
pine
said,
cone?
yeah, he's thinking now if is that one pine cone worth anything else out there. Let's
I think
see.
currently his best option is the fox, which is getting him 2 points from being next to just the bear pairs.
But is that worth the pine cone at that point of the?
Or actually, he might be taking a bear because he is very close to getting the set of 6. Like he has the 3 and then 2 single
Okay,
ones. So
that's
actually, he
true.
might take a bear here. He really wanted that elk though.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, that hurt. That hurt.
Oh, what?
He is
Well, he's
wiping.
wiping.
Okay, so he's not
Yeah.
giving up on it yet.
he doesn't care
Actually,
for the
sorry,
bears.
leave the bird.
Leave the
Leave
bird.
the bird.
Interesting.
Where would that bird go? He doesn't have a.
Well, there is a spot on the tile
I know.
with the bird.
Right, but that'd be next to the other bird
Another
as well.
fox.
Oh, on the one that draws with, I see.
Another fox again.
All you need is one.
Like I said, it's just going to be all foxes.
You can't
And another
I can't,
fox.
yeah.
Can't do the free wipe again.
Or what if that fourth one was a fox? Does it go away in that situation? It's
Yeah.
forced,
It
right?
would.
Still, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. 4 animals, same kind, automatic wipe all the way. Doesn't matter if it was something you really wanted. They're just all gone.
Kind of kicking himself there for that,
Yeah.
wiping the bird at that point then.
I'm not sure why he kept the bird. Is that his best play? Where would that go?
Well, with it being
A
the
4th hawk is 3 points, so I guess in that sense, yeah.
and extending
is
the
worth more
water
than the fox.
terrain, and it would extend
Yeah.
the water as well, but he already has lockdown on that, doesn't he? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, yeah, I'm not really sure what the thinking there was. He's stressing though. He is his fiance was one to join him here, and they get married in 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, let's hope for a little
He was hoping for a second ring.
right, yeah, maybe a little honeymoon money, something.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's needed some elk to back it up. He's just taking the bird. Okay,
yeah.
it's not worth any more pine cones.
Yeah.
Alright,
All right, we're going to go into final scoring.
Game, here
Very
we go.
exciting
So-
stuff.
Hey,
Starting with Bears and Terrence. What do you got? You've got
Only
full set.
Terrence is really killing it on Bears. Getting the full 18 there.
And RJ.
One is 10.
Yeah, 10 for 4 Bears.
6.
Yeah, not great. 6
12.
for 3 Bears. Pretty bad, unfortunately, but
Uh,
that's
elk.
going to be the case for a lot of these
Brings
animals.
Terrence. You've got
Elk, this is where a lot of players are going to be cleaning up.
13. Right, 5 plus 8 is 13.
RJ.
listen in on the scoring here.
Anyone for me? No.
Plus the 2.
21.
23.
23. Yeah.
I wish
Yep,
she only had
going for
21.
the salmon. Yeah.
There you go.
16.
16 for salmon. Pretty
Salmon.
nice.
Oh, sorry, 13. It's completely.
Yeah, it's the. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
15 there for Terrence.
Beautiful
Yep.
salmon.
Very nice.
Yeah.
15 for 3
Wow.
salmon is
11.
incredible.
That is great.
Yeah. Terrence, honestly, looking to be in a pretty strong position.
11.
I believe
11 there.
14.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yep.
All right, they're 14 for Nick as
14.
well.
Yeah, but he did commit
birds.
5 salmon to
Turns.
that. So
Oh.
8. 3 for
3
8.
is 8. Yep.
8 for
22.
22 for RJ. That was where his big points are going to be coming from.
5 birds. 14.
Yeah.
There's 14.
14. Yeah. For John.
11.
And 11.
And foxes.
So 4 birds, 11
Mine's
points.
terrible. I think it's 3 plus 1
We hear
plus
there
3,
Terrence just say,
6.
mine is
Yeah,
terrible.
his foxes are unfortunately not doing the heavy lifting in his build.
5, 6, 7, 8.
All right, 8 there
Yeah,
for
8 for 4
RJ.
foxes.
I got 8.
Wait,
So
did he say
I
8?
thought he said 8.
4.
That's what I heard, 8.
Yep.
Is it?
4?
Should it be 9?
Easy enough.
I think that should have been 9. Yeah. And then John said 8. Yeah, John gets 8.
15.
Maybe we heard John's.
If only they
Oh,
would look at the camera as a box, we can see who's speaking.
Oh,
Math
good
in
catch.
public.
Yeah, math in public is tough.
30.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I think it's
58.
58.
58.
Yeah.
58. Yeah.
Okay.
58. So
okay.
yeah,
Sorry.
like Nick mentioned way at the start of the
I would've
program,
caught it.
3 per animal is kind of the benchmark. So scoring under
6.
60 means it's not a great
6,
game.
46.
But that's not because of these players. It's because of this setup, very
57.
challenging to actually score
Yeah.
off the animals.
As well as at this level of competition, right?
39,
Yeah.
40.
It's just, we saw that with the
54,
Azul Championship last night. They're saying
62.
like a score of 51 is abysmal. But also
Yeah.
when you're playing at this level,
Yeah.
you know, there are those times where you will take that equal turn, not to hurt someone else, but to
42,
not
53,
kingmake either.
Yeah,
58.
when everyone knows what they're doing, you know, attacking your
57.
opponents
Mm-hmm.
can be just as valuable as pumping up your own
Yeah.
score. Because it's also about managing threat level, right? If you're the runaway leader, everyone's going to tear you down.
All right. Mountains.
Mountains.
For you.
All right, we're going through the terrains here at this
1, 2,
point.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
9 mountains for Terrence.
5.
5 for RJ.
7.
7 for John.
5.
And 5 for Nick. So John getting that second place
So
bonus.
it's 3
Terrence doing
and
quite
1,
well.
right?
Correct.
Force.
Terrence is in a very strong
4.
position. 4, I believe he said.
6.
He said 4, yes. Yeah.
5. Not a big force game.
And then
John's
8?
cleaning up on force, I think. 8 for John.
5.
And then 5 for Nick. So yeah, John taking first place on that. I imagine he's taking first place on
Planes.
planes as well.
Planes.
The yellow.
He's got the little
Oh,
S
yeah.
formation for his
Yeah.
planes.
Sorry, that's 3 for me. 3. 5.
3, 5.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's 9.
It's 9.
9.
9.
Nine.
9 for John. And then I
6.
think 6 for Nick. Yep. 6 for
Okay.
him.
Wetlands.
10 for me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
I
6,
think it's
7, 8,
between
9, 10.
John and Terrence.
All right, Terrence is at 10.
6, 7.
7 for RJ.
3.
2.
And water.
I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
6 water.
Five.
Might be.
That might be the second.
That's second, I think.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
Nick takes it.
11 for Nick.
11,
Nick
yeah.
cleaning
Okay.
house on that water.
Mm.
Nick with the ocean over there.
6.
Right.
29. 33, 32. 38.
Aaron's standing
39,
up. I
Yeah.
think he's feeling pretty good about his position.
35, that's 14. 17.
It's always fun to see the different personalities who like
Yeah.
looks and double counts with it, and who's, you know, you have
30,
RJ over
35.
there. He's like, just let me
Yeah.
know. He's
I'm
so
doing the
cute.
math like 10 times
Yeah.
there, just double checking every number.
Yeah.
26.
These are going to be really low final scores though.
32,
Like
37.
But again, with this animal
37 on
makeup,
terrain is
10,
pretty good.
16,
Yeah.
17, 19. 29, 30, 33.
33. I
33.
believe that was for Nick.
Okay.
5, 10, 16, 17, 18, 19, 29, 30, 33.
Okay, 33.
Pine cones left over.
1.
1, 4,
As the tiebreaker.
4.
And then 4 for Nick. Yeah. Well, we're about to find out
All right.
very quickly who our winner is.
Okay.
68, 78, 88, 98.
98.
7, 67, 27, 87, 92, 96.
96 for RJ.
62, 82, 92, 99, 101.
101.
101
For John?
John.
67, 67,
I think John has it.
87, 90, 94.
94.
94.
And John is the winner with 101.
Congrats.
All right.
Congrats
Terrence
to John.
98.
Congratulations.
He's
Well
the
done,
only
man.
one to really
RJ
pull off
96
the Fox
and Nick
Green
with
there.
94.
Right. Yes, he went
Yeah.
that early, and it looks like it paid out for him.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
they
it was-
called it,
it
man.
was really well
Fox
done.
C,
This
all his buddy
play
elks
was
guarding
a
him,
great
keeping him
Right
safe,
there.
That's
protect the president.
I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, John probably making a good call there, like taking that deer, keeping
Yeah.
Nick out of it because, well, I think John had it over Nick potentially, but
Anyway, but just kind of securing.
yeah,
that.
just making sure, really locking it down.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, John took a year off, came back swinging though.
Absolutely.
You know, takes the whole thing.
This is one of my favorite parts of the game here, where you see them afterward kind of like debriefing with each other.
Yeah.
Right? You know, it just goes back to that camaraderie,
Yeah.
like you were talking about, just how they really are rooting for themselves, but also for each other at the same time, happy
Yes.
for each other, you know, regardless.
They're
So,
all there because they love the game.
Absolutely.
Which I would be shocked if one of them's like, I hate this game. Why am I here?
I haven't been good at it.
You
You know,
know.
yeah.
We're all both students and teachers of the game, and honestly, where are you ever going to get like the kind of like feedback from other players of like, what do you think I should have done differently in that position, right?
Right.
Because I'm sure there were many like very difficult decisions in that game. You
Yeah.
know, really small decision points that, depending on how the tiles came out, you know, it really could have made all the difference. But
Absolutely. So it's one of those things that they'll continue to discuss. You know, I know that
Yes.
there's Discord groups amongst the players here. You know, Discord groups they join and they play on BGA together. And just, you know,
Yes.
the bonds that are formed here, the championships, I think are so very unique. I think, especially in
Yeah.
this niche hobby that we're already in. You know, so really appreciate that. Congratulations to John,
Yeah.
our new ring winner here for Cascadia. That's gonna do it for the live stuff tonight. But be sure to check back in with us tomorrow morning for our opening ceremonies and more championships to come. Thank you again, PJ.
Thank you
for
so much for
joining
having
us.
me.
And hopefully we'll see you will be commentating on you tomorrow. Hopefully.
I'll be commentating on myself.
No, we will be commentating
Oh,
on you.
okay.
Hopefully.
I could give some
Right.
commentary in the match if I get that far. I'd be like, hey, look at this guy. He doesn't know what he's doing.
I think we all know that's not the case. All right.
Yeah,
Thanks
all right.
again for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vassell. Thanks for watching this video. Check out our channel. We have a lot of videos on our channel. We have live videos that go up each week, from live Q&As to videos where we take a look at the newest stuff on Kickstarter, crowd surfing, to top 10 lists and more. There's lots of stuff on this channel. We encourage you to explore it. You can find out more at our website, dicetower.com. I'm Tom Vassell. Thanks for watching another video on the Dice Tower.